Okay, folks, what's up? Thanks for watching. This is going to be Bring It Pro Choices number 6. Again, this is Bring It Pro Choices number 6. As no apologies. So, excuse me, what am I talking about when I say no compromise, no apologies? It's simple and straightforward with me. I don't care who gets upset, who gets offended by my no compromising position. Abortion is wrong, abortion is evil, plain and simple. I come across pro boards who regularly contradict themselves and play these stupid games with this gray area nonsense. It's nothing more than a stupid and convenient cop out escape from the fact that they cannot consistently argue their positions. When pro choicers claim they want to compromise, I find that to be a bunch of garbage because they are not, in fact, compromising their position. Instead, what they are doing is trying to look for an area to find agreement with pro lifers with, but that is not the same as compromise. For instance, Ben Shapiro was talking to a young pro choice woman about abortion in the case of rape. Ben Shapiro simply put it like this: rapists should be castrated or killed, not babies. And he asked the young woman, can we at least agree that rapists should be castrated or killed? She said yes to that. Now, they clearly found an area of agreement, but does that mean they found a compromise? Nope. There's no such thing as a true compromise on this issue, which is speaking about who and what is the basis for deciding who can live and die. Compromise is nothing more than a pretense. It doesn't exist. At least when we're talking about this particular issue, it doesn't exist. I am pro-life with no exceptions, and I offer no compromise and no apologies. So with that, it's pretty much as simple as my position goes. People may find that to be problematic or immoral or whatever they find it to be, but it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, we're talking about babies here. And if you deny that they're babies, of course, then I'd be interested to see what arguments they give for that. But when it's all said and done, the arguments you give are not going to be any different than the same source of arguments that was used to justify oppressive slavery in American colonial times. They all mirror the same thing, the same type of line of reasoning and logic. You can't use size, level of development, environment, or the degree of dependency to justify your murderous position. And like I said, I offer absolutely no compromise and no apologies. This is an issue a whole lot of people don't like to touch, but it doesn't matter to me. I'll put a link out and we can see if we can have a mature discussion about this issue. But everyone pretty much knows what my position is, and of course, if you got an argument you think is persuasive or one that you think will um, bring light to you, to your position, if you identify as a pro-choicer, then I'd be one to hear it. I'm going to tell you this now. I've had this discussion thousands of times, and it's always the same sort of reasoning with a lot of pro-choicers. There's gray areas. They don't really know when their position is solid here, or they try to compromise, or they try red herrings. It's a number of different things that they try, but at the end of the day, it's the same thing. It ends up in nothing more than, well, the only thing consistent about their positions is how inconsistent they are. That's the saddest part. They're consistently inconsistent. And they expect pro-lifers to give a logical argument for their positions, and they expect reasoning, they expect coherent positions, but it's okay for them to be inconsistent, but when the pro-lifers are inconsistent, they find it problematic. They have all these crazy double standards in how they argue their positions. And like I said, I've had these discussions thousands of times, and it's pretty much always the same conversation when you get done. So I'm gonna put the link out there, and then let's have a conversation. So let's see. Okay. All right. Well, for those who say I don't have an argument like John Smith here, why don't you come in and back that up? Or you can just be a keyboard warrior and just make that assertion. That's fine with me. But that won't demonstrate anything to me other than the fact that you just come up in here and just post stuff in the chat, but you don't ever come in and actually argue your position. So I'll be interested to see if you actually got the guts to come in here and back that up. But I come across a lot of keyboard warriors who like to be all talk and no walk. At least from time to time, those like in the chat, like Positively Godless, for example, at least he'll come in a room and attempt to have a discussion. I actually respect him on that much. At least he has guts. Some of you other people are just a bunch of keyboard warriors who aren't even worth my time. Well, John Smith, like I said, either you can come in and we can have a discussion about this like men, or you can just sit there in my chat box and just talk ridiculous. One of the two. Here's what it's going to be, John. If you don't want to actually come in and talk this out like a man, then I'm just going to bang you on my chat. That's how it's going to be. Talking about making an actual argument. It's that keyboard warrior crap that's so stupid. Make an actual argument. Like, dude, come in, dude. Stop being a coward, dude. Stop being a keyboard warrior. Be a man. Act like an adult. You see, you're trolling right now. This is all you're doing. He said he just put out an expletive. Well, see you later, John. Bye. That's one down. We'll see how many more people want to act like a bunch of children and don't want to actually come in and have a conversation. Hey, Ecclesiastes, what's up, man?
Hey, Antonio.
Yeah, I'm not going to put up with this keyboard warrior nonsense today either. You can come in and be a man and be an adult and back up what you say, or you can take a hike, one of the two.
Well, what was brought up?
No, he was just like, I don't have an argument. This guy named John Smith. And I told him, okay, that's fine. You think that? Well, let's come in here and have a conversation. And then he kept so making these statements like, oh, you don't have an argument. You're acting like a child. Then he told me to go F myself. And then I was like, you know what? Forget you. You're banned. See ya.
Good argument by him.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Well, again, there's another one. Hey, Mystic, you want to come in and talk about this? Mystic One. I'll put the link out there. You people can come right in here.
Yep.
There's no excuse for y'all to see that link right there and not actually come in and talk about this. So we have Built for Speed here. What's up, man? Good to see you, brother. Well, I guess Mystic doesn't want to come in either. So, see, this is what I'm talking about. You have all these naysayers somehow. Oh, you don't have an argument. You don't know what you're talking about. You just stupid. Like, well, come in and prove it.
Yeah. Let me see.
But this is. Go ahead, man. What's up?
I was just gonna say I'm gonna go to the outside chat since they're in there. Let's see. Oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just
Oh no, you good, man.
I was just seeing what you were talking about in the side chat. Oh,
Oh, I guess Mystic One said I haven't disagreed with you. Are you pro-life, Mystic? So if so, then I misread your comments.
Hello.
All
hey.
right, so we have Brother Tommy Hall in here, and we have Wayne Fillmore. I didn't expect to see you in here.
I know, me neither, but good conversation. I haven't talked about this topic in a while, so why not?
But you're pro-life anyway, aren't you? So,
Yeah, so
and no exceptions at all, or do you have any exceptions?
yeah, I'm pro-life. I do believe there can be exceptions, but in most cases, I think it's unnecessary.
What are the exceptions?
If the life of the mother is in danger, um, if there's a big chance that the birth could be like a stillbirth, um, if the woman gets raped, I mean that's like that it's a tough decision for her to make. So I can see it in different ways. Um, so it depends. I don't think it's completely black and white. I think it's something that people should sit down and just have a conversation about.
Okay, that's interesting. So, you bring up rape. So your point is this: if a woman is raped, she gets to decide to kill an innocent child. That's your argument, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you brought up rape, right, as an exception, didn't you?
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's the point. So if something bad happens to her, she gets raped, she gets to decide to kill her innocent child. So something bad happens to her, then she gets to decide that something bad happens to her child in return.
All right.
So that's a justification. Two wrongs make a right.
Well, I don't see a problem with it with whether or not she keeps the child or not. I mean, I don't really see a
Okay,
problem
so
with
two
it.
wrongs make a right. Then correct.
Well, if she wanted to terminate the child and she had a justifiable reason, it wouldn't be a wrong.
So the fact that she got raped changes whether that child gets to live or dies, right?
Yeah,
Based on what? Where do you get that from?
based on if her reasonings for getting an abortion is justifiable. I mean, if you look at the Old Testament, there's a lot of things that people would disagree with, but it's justice. So
So she can decide whether she can get an abortion or not in that situation.
yeah, it's
Based
not
on
really.
what? Where do you find that in scripture?
Well, I wouldn't bring the Bible into it because I don't think the Bible speaks on these topics specifically. The Bible is a book where you can use it as a guide so you can get a fundamental idea of morality, but it's not a book where every single practice or every single problem is going to be answered in the book. It's a guide. It's a schoolmaster. and it's
So if
up
you
to
don't
you and
find
I
it in
to.
the word of God, then how do you know that she can justify her position based on that situation?
It depends on her reasoning. I mean, some people they do certain things for certain reasons. The reason has to be justifiable. So
So you don't know. You're just saying it's justifiable.
no, I do know. If her reasons, if her personal reasons for doing it is justifiable, then sure, it would be just. Um,
What do you mean if her reasons are justifiable?
if
If
somebody has a, if somebody
if
has
you're gonna
just,
say wait, if you're gonna say
Mhm.
if her reasons are justifiable, then how do you know they are justifiable?
The same way I know how if somebody makes an argument, right? If the argument is reasonable, then it's a good argument. Not like
Reasonable to
I had to hang
who?
out. That's a good question to who. Um, there are like certain standards from what makes a good argument, right? Like what makes a good deductive argument. What makes a good induction. So we have certain standards for like
Looks like there was a glitch with the. He's probably using a mobile to get in here. There's a glitch with the mobile app for some stupid reason. I don't know what it is.
It sounds like he's pro-choice to me. I mean, if he's
Oh, and at least in that situation, he sounds pro-choice, but he seems to be very inconsistent because he's just saying it's justifiable, but he's not saying why. He's just saying, well, it's justifiable.
oh, if the reasons for doing it are legitimate. So it would be justifiable if the reasons for doing so are legitimate, or if the reasons for doing it are what some people would say moral. And I think like when it comes to morality, you and I might have a different view on how we can make or why we make moral decisions. So I guess you would say like, um, and like I guess I'll ask you because I don't want to assume when it comes to making moral choices, do you think the Bible has the answer every time, or like what do you do in situations where you don't think the Bible speaks directly to that issue?
Well, here's the thing: if you truly believe that the Bible is the Word of God and that you follow your framework by it, then you would trust in what Scripture says. I think Scripture gives significant evidence to where it is clear enough that abortion in the case of rape is wrong. So I don't think the Bible would leave us with any ambiguity in that point. But for example, if if something doesn't seem to be very, very clear, I think we have intuitive common sense. Like, for example, I give this analogy all the time. Let's say if you have a demolition team and they're about to knock down a building. If they're not sure whether anyone is in the building or not, you go look first. You don't tear down the building and don't be sure that there's nobody in the building. You go look first. You go check out everything. So if you don't know, then you don't proceed. It's just common sense. You check out first. In the same way, if you really truly believe that the Bible doesn't give any explicit um, uh, guidelines to whether a woman should get an abortion or not in that situation, if she don't know, then she probably not just probably, she should use her intuitive common sense and just not get the abortion. Because if she's wrong, then she's sinning. Why in the world would she take a risk to sin if she don't know? If the Bible in her view doesn't give the clear answer, why would she just get an abortion and risk sinning anyway? So you just use your intuitive common sense, and I do think that that's something that God gave us as well. When we aren't aware of something, we don't carry on with just a particular action just because um, if that action means we could be sinning. So if you're not sure, you just don't make the decision that risk you sinning. That's the point.
In a way, Antonio, in a way, you think about it. Okay, she got raped and then she conceived, and her killing the child. How? I mean, why is it a rash? I mean, a jump to just make that decision. I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna kill this baby, and and it'll fix everything. Okay, right now, just because she's impregnated doesn't mean that she has to keep the child. She can have the child, and another thing is she's not gonna die. She Just because she's bearing the child doesn't mean death. So just bear the child and give it up for adoption if you don't want to keep it. That's what I would say. Now that I look
Yeah,
on it
I
Yeah,
more.
agree.
it's easy for us as men to say stuff like that, but like men, we I'm not gonna say we don't have to deal with that because men do get raped as well. But in a situation like that where you have to conceive the child of your rapist, through this 8 to 9 month, period, it's a lot easier said than done. Like let's say, one of your mothers got raped and she had to carry this child through this process, and the whole time this thing is developing inside of her. Every time she looks at her child, kicking her stomach, and even when it's conceived, she'll think about her rapist. And there are like stories where some women say that when they conceived a child through rape, it wasn't necessarily a bad thing all in all, because yeah, they got their child. But I can understand. And that's what I'm saying. I don't want you guys to like not be empathetic towards it. Like, oh, like you can just go to the grocery store and you can like you like, because you belittle the situation. It's not a situation that can be belittled. It's not like going to the store and getting some juice. Like rape is a very serious thing.
But you said she could think about her rapist. Well, what if her rapist has a twin brother? Does she get to attack her and kill the rapist's twin brother? No. What does that mean?
Well, what I'm saying is, I guess I can understand the situation where somebody gets raped and they think that in having an abortion, what's the words I'm looking for? They think in having an abortion, it'll like
Solve that.
somebody said, it'll fix the problem, right? Or in a sense, it'll help them cope, which it could be a coping mechanism, because they can't hurt the rapist, but what they can do is they can hurt the the seed that the rapist planted inside of them, right?
So
Um,
you don't kill the rapist, but you kill the innocent child.
yeah, because they can't kill the rapist, and so the closest thing to getting, I guess people say getting back at the rapist is killing his seed.
That
But I
doesn't
don't think
prove anything. What if
I
the
I,
rapist
I
doesn't
don't
give a crap? What kind of logic is that? Get back at the rapist? That doesn't
yeah,
the rapist
right,
may
but that's
not give a crap. Look, for all you know, the rapist may be like, I don't care if she gets an abortion, it doesn't matter to me. That doesn't
right.
prove
And
anything.
right, I like, yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I don't think that's like the best rationale in the world, but I think that's the logic behind it when women do get it, when they do get abortions, when it comes to rape. I think a better approach is to sit down with these women and help them understand that yes, forgiving that rapist is going to be one of the hardest things you have ever done in your life, but you don't forgive that rapist for the child or for that rape. You forgive that rapist for you, and it's going to be one of the hardest things you ever done. And even still, right, even after that person decides whether or not they want to forgive that rapist or not, they still have to make their own decision of whether or not they want to keep that child or not. And I think, whether they keep the child or whether they don't keep the child, they would be justifiable in doing whatever they seem fit to do.
So let me ask you this. What if a woman rapes a man and she gets pregnant? Would she still have the right to get an abortion then if the man wanted to keep the child?
In that situation, you would need to ask the man what he thinks she should do. Now, I guess because like in America things are a bit different, because then they would say, oh well, the woman gets a chance to choose. But I think in those situations where anybody is raped, whoever the person who that act was inflicted on, um I think they should have they should have a say so.
So, are you telling me that a woman who rapes a man and gets herself pregnant should have no say so in the abortion of that child, right?
Oh, she can have a say so, but it just has to be the say so of the man. You know, she was the one who raped him, and so legally, and this isn't how it actually is. But in my opinion, I think that the man should be asked, what do you want to do with this baby? Do you want to keep it or whatever? And after that, it would be his choice.
Well, wait a minute. He's not the one carrying the child, though. You're the one talking about in the other
Right,
situation
but
that she would be the one
right.
carrying
But
the child.
he was the one who was raped, and like I said, like rape it's a serious thing, and it goes on both spectrums. So and I did say like men get raped too, right? So it would have to be up to the person who it had to be up to the victim.
I've got a question for you, Wayne, if I could.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the way I look at it is, as a Christian, and I think as a society, that we should live by principle and not by circumstance. So the issue for me is real simple: is abortion a moral thing, or is it immoral? And so the question is: killing your baby a moral thing or an immoral thing? I think Christians almost overwhelmingly would agree that it's immoral. The secular side, they probably maybe most of them think that there's nothing wrong with it. But what I'm getting at is with you, though, as a Christian, if you believe that abortion is immoral, which it kind of sounds like you do, why would it suddenly become moral in one circumstance when it is in another circumstance? In other words, just because a woman is raped, that's a terrible situation. But that doesn't make the act of abortion any more moral. You see what I'm saying? I think that's what Antonio's getting at, which
That's right.
it's either moral or it's not. And so if abortion is immoral, then it's always immoral.
Exactly. It's like this. Imagine you have someone that's
That's a
been,
tough one. Yeah, it's a tough
but
decision.
but imagine if you have somebody that's been like harassed and bullied just to no end in school, and because of this, they're just mentally shaken. They're just about ready to just like explode. And then, one day they just, they're tired of being harassed. They're tired of being mocked and bullied. And then they just come to school with a gun and just go on a shooting spree because they were abused and bullied and whatnot and shaken emotionally. Does it give them the right to kill innocent people? No. The fact that they suffered doesn't give them the right to kill innocent people. The fact that they suffered doesn't justify or change the moral situation of other innocent people who had nothing to do with it. So how the fact that something bad happened to her, affect her being able to kill an innocent child? Just because something bad happens to you doesn't change the moral situation of other innocent people.
Exactly right. I mean, I was asking Wayne that to you because I'm just kind of curious as to what your position is on that. Do you think that abortion is moral or immoral?
When it comes to anything, it depends. So when I think about morality, I don't think about morality in a black or white framework like some Christians in America. Um, when it comes to morality, it depends on the reasons for why you do what you do. The reasons themselves have to be legitimate, and if you can find a justifiable reason to do it, then it would be moral. Like for example, killing, right? Like taking somebody's life. Now you could take somebody's life in self-defense, which would be killing. And the Bible talks about thou shalt not kill without a cause. But a justifiable cause to take somebody's life is self-defense. But if you go and you just take somebody's life for no reason, that's murder. And so you have two situations where you're taking a life, but the reasons for why you take that life have to be legitimate reasons. So that would actually be subjective. It totally depends on the reasons.
Hey, let me ask this
No,
question.
no.
Okay,
Dude.
can I?
You're so off base. It's not even funny. Go ahead, man.
All right. How about this scenario? You know you're rapist, right? I mean, the woman knows her rapist, and what she does is she goes to where this rapist lives and finds out that he has a innocent child and kills that child.
Right.
It's
What
it.
would you
It's the
say to
same.
that?
Yeah, it's the same. Like he has a family, a wife, and some kids. And what she does is goes to his house and kills one of his kids.
I don't really see the. I don't see the like. I don't really follow the logic in that question, but I think that's pretty dumb. But
The
no, like
reason why
if
you don't follow the logic is because you think the state of the unborn, of an innocent unborn, is different than the state of a born child. That's why.
well, the circumstances of how that child got there definitely are different because if he has a son, right, and let's say like he conceived that son with a woman willfully, then the circumstances definitely are different. It's not the same circumstances, but like
It's the innocence of the
Well,
child
how
that
long
I'm
do you
trying to
want
tell you
to?
about.
Well, how long do you want to apply that circumstance? Because even if a woman conceives in rape and she has the kid, what if she decides later on that she don't want this kid alive? She want to kill the kid later on. How long
well,
does she get to make that decision?
I don't know. I mean
Exactly. So you're talking about the
that's
circumstances of that child's conception, changes the issue.
well,
But
yeah.
how are you going to say that she wouldn't have a right to kill the child once born?
Well, there is a point where, like, you all know, like, children develop in the womb, right? And like, there's a point in time where it's not a human, but just because it's not a human, that doesn't mean that you should necessarily abort it.
That's totally incorrect. And let me
Hey,
show you some signs to
But
disprove
but
that. I'm going to
but
screen share something for you. There is not a time when that unborn is not human. You are absolutely incorrect.
well, I because you're arguing from the Bible and you're using
No, that's incorrect. That's incorrect.
well, no, that's what all pro-choicers do, like create.
Look, dude, I'm not arguing from the Bible right here. This is science right here. You got all these references right in front of your face that tells you when human development starts. And it starts at the conception point. You have a human being from the conception point. So to say that there's a time in the womb where the unborn is not human is just scientifically false.
So is it a cellular organism?
Do you really want to go down that line of reasoning? That's the
I
same sort
mean,
of
I mean, we
reasoning.
we we
Stop. That's the same line of reasoning. Steve McRae went down, and he had at least 5 people in his hangout who disagreed with him. It was Soccer Cal who disagreed with them. Sam the scientist disagreed with them. Multiple personality disagreed with them. So if you want to go down that same line of logic, then you only run into a wall, dude.
I mean, we could, but I don't think that matters. Because whether or not it's a human, it still would be made in the image of God. So that's irrelevant. But what
No, but
what
you're
I
saying
wanted to,
it's not human. That's just false. At one point in time in pregnancy, it's not human. That's just wrong, dude.
well, I could be wrong about that, and if I am, I recant. But I
No,
personally
it
don't
ain't.
think.
You could be wrong. You are wrong.
Well,
Point blank.
I haven't looked into what you're showing me yet, so I can't make a decision. You can't force me to make a decision. I'll look into it.
Well,
I
here's the
have.
information right here. I'll send you the information right now. I'll send it to you in the chat. You look and you have no excuse to say that there's not a human in the womb, dude.
Okay.
The information is right there, accessible to you.
But what I did want to say is when when it comes to abortion, um and I lost my train of thought. I come back to me. I'm
in a
sorry.
in a way, it's the trauma victim, right? Okay, I got raped. Say I'm getting raped in prison, right? And I kill myself because of my traumatic issue. I'm killing an innocent because of the traumatic issue. Is that dumb also, Wayne?
Wait, so you're in prison, you got raped,
Yeah.
okay?
And my
And
and my emotions led me to kill myself.
it let you to kill yourself?
Yeah. And
But why would you?
I was innocent, but my emotions led me to kill myself.
Okay.
That doesn't make it morally okay to kill yourself.
Yeah, is it morally okay for me to kill myself?
No. I mean,
Is it
people
morally
may
okay for you to?
understand that, but may understand that motivation to want to, but that doesn't make the act of killing yourself okay.
No, you could kill yourself. There are circumstances where people do give their lives, right? They kill themselves, but
Oh, sure.
I don't think that'd be a good reason for you to kill yourself. So
Well, I mean, people are abused, traumatized, that kind of thing happens all the time where they can't handle it emotionally, and over the years, it just builds up. They end up, they can't get over it. They can't get through it, and a lot of people kill themselves because of past trauma. So that's not terribly unusual, but that doesn't make it okay morally to kill yourself. So I think that's the same point that we're trying to make with the abortion. Yes, it's a terrible event to get raped and to become pregnant, but that doesn't make it morally okay to kill the baby just because the woman was raped.
and there you go. My point just came back to me. So in my opinion, I do believe that it would be justifiable if the woman did, but I think it is so much more powerful if she keeps it because
Agreed.
um when she does, abort the baby and stuff like that, and because I think the reason why people do things like that is because it's a form of getting back. It's a form of, oh well, this person hurt me, and so I'm gonna hurt them. Like they don't actually say this out of their mouths, but I think that's the mindset they're in, and I think yeah, she could do that and it would be justifiable, but she wouldn't give the rapist that much more power over her. Like it would be much more it would be greater if she did keep the baby. So I think that's the better option she could go with. But if she doesn't want to, I don't think she should be ridiculed or anything for not keeping it. So it's one of those things. Yes, it's her choice, but the choice where she actually does keep the baby and she conceives is it shows how much stronger she is. A woman who can do that is a very strong woman,
But
and that's my opinion on
but
that.
you still haven't gotten past this point that circumstance dictate whether the unborn, the nature of the unborn changes, whether it has the right to be killed or not. You still haven't made an argument for that. You just said, well, in my opinion, it does. Dude, that's not an argument.
It's a reason. I gave you reasons for why, and that's all I can pretty much do. I can't like
You
100% prove
asserted
my
your
arguments.
opinion. That's not an argument, dude.
Well, no, that's what I personally believe. That's my opinion on it, and that's all I can say.
So your personal belief decides the life, or rather, a woman's personal opinion decides whether an innocent child gets to live or die.
It's all
That's your
personal
argument.
opinion. It's all subjective, but we go with the best opinion.
What do you mean it's all subjective? Where do you get that from?
Us talking about this is my opinion versus your opinion, and the only difference, I guess you would say, like I'm getting my opinion from God, which like that really like doesn't change anything because I can't like God can't talk to me in this conversation right now, so it's really irrelevant. It's up to
What?
us.
God
It,
can't
it
talk to you in this kind. What?
well, I mean, unless you can like you unless you can like change there or like whatever.
You call
It's
yourself a Christian, dude? You saying God can't talk to you in this? What?
yeah, like so although God won't physically talk to us in an audible voice right now, I think God has given us the tools of rationale and logic so we can talk about this amongst ourselves and we can make the best possible decision.
Okay, you said like it's all subjective. Okay, so it's all if it's all subjective, who says you can't kill newborn babies? It's all subjective, right?
Right, and it depends on your reasons. Like you have to have justifiable reasons. I mean, even in the Bible, didn't they kill children? But they had justifiable reasons for why they did what they did, etc. I could get into that, but it depends on your reasons for doing an action.
No, if
If
God
the reason being
ordains an action, that's one
huh?
thing. If God ordains an action, that's one thing. But you just taking it into your own hands. A woman has a newborn baby, and she says, "I'm not going to be able to take care of this baby," and then she kills the baby for that reason.
Okay.
But everything is subjective. So according to you, that will be justifiable. Since
It
everything is
depends.
subjective, right?
It depends on it depends on the reasons for doing it. Like everything isn't black or white.
Okay, so if you're gonna go down that line of reasoning, then people can make up their own reasons for doing anything. Killing newborn babies, raping, stealing, torturing folks. They can make up their own reasons. Everything is subjective. That's what you just said.
Yeah, but just because everything is subjective doesn't mean that you go like doing anything you want to do. Like there still is a moral framework that you have to work from. When I say
No, you
subjective,
said
like
everything is subjective. You can't just arbitrarily put out a moral framework after saying everything is subjective. You're making no sense. You're being inconsistent.
I don't see how because you're painting a picture of subjective morality that isn't true. It's a straw man version of it. Um, I'm a Christian, and I would say morality is sort of subjective. And what I mean by that is yes, Yahweh, God, Jesus, He is the standard for right and wrong. But because we don't know God's mind 100%, we don't know in every situation what God would do. We have to come to the best possible decision or choice as humans. And so as humans, um, our knowledge of morality is constantly evolving and changing. And over time, we slowly are getting the bigger picture of the whole pie. But at the same time, we'll never get to the bigger picture.
But that's
So
just the thing. We do know what God would do. Like
not
we're
in all
talking,
situations, in all cases.
if
I
we're
mean,
talking
the Bible.
about if we're
I'm sorry.
talking about like rape, for example, we know that Jesus Christ will never rape anybody.
Right, I would agree with you, but there
Okay,
are
so
situations like okay, so like if somebody is about to kill somebody who you love, and you have the opportunity to stop that from happening,
mhm.
right? And you could kill them, or you could let them murder your whole family. What would Jesus do?
So okay, so what you're telling me is that little scenario you brought up, in somehow, some way, justifies, getting an abortion. Because here's the thing: what if a woman said, "Well, she can't afford to have another child. Like she has like four children already." What if she says, "This is could interfere with her career. What if this is going to make it very difficult for her to take care of this kid if she has this baby?" You can say a number of different reasons justify abortion if everything is subjective. Reach that deep, you can find something that sounds quote unquote moral.
Right, but then there's always somebody who can make a better reason for why you shouldn't, and you should listen to that reason. The reason is better than your reason.
And I'm just making a better reason for why you should not kill that child when conceived in the case of rape. But then you don't even claim that that's a better reason. You would just say, well, everything is subjective. So if everything is subjective, how can you say it's a better reason? You have
Well,
no means to say what is a better reason or what is not, especially if you don't rely on God's moral standard.
well, when it comes to making an argument, there's going to be gaps and holes in every single argument and every single reason. But
Every single one. Oh, okay. Show a gap in the hole. For why
I'm getting into
rape
it.
should rape should be justifiable in any situation. Show a gap in the hole in that.
Well, let me finish. There's gaps and holes in every argument and every reason, because you could always be the skeptic and say, well, what about this, and what about that, and what about this? But
She didn't address my question. I said show a gap in the hole to show that rape can be justifiable in any situation.
Oh, I
So
can't
rabbit hole in that.
I can't see where rape can be justifiable in any situation. So I don't think it's a moral thing to do at all. But
So
you,
you're
you
gonna
see,
assert
like,
that every argument has a gap or a hole in it. So if you can't show one in that, then every argument doesn't.
well, yes, but like somebody who wants to justify rape, if they right, if they wanted to, they could say, well, what about this and what about that, and then somebody would say, well, no, that's not justifiable because et cetera, et cetera. And so, like, it totally, like, it everything depends. It depends on your reason for doing anything. And then there could be circumstances where, like, there aren't any legitimate reasons for doing it, but you could find a reason. But what I'm arguing for is, are the reasons legitimate? Are they good reasons for doing it? And I think in the case of a woman aborting her child because of rape, I think they do have a valid point.
And apart from God, who says there are good reasons or not?
Excuse me, Wayne. I have a question for you, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Whose laws do you say you're a Christian, right?
Yes.
Whose laws do you really abide by, society's or God's?
I think that's a false dichotomy.
Oh, can you really picture God like approving somebody going through an abortion? You really think he'll be like, oh, go ahead, sure?
It depends. I mean, God told his people to go out and subdue other nations and kill them. I mean, God has told his people to kill children before, but you got
That
to look at the
doesn't mean
reason for
that
why.
they can just autonomously decide to kill children, though, man.
I agree. The reasons were justifiable, and so it goes back to my argument of the reasons for doing what you do have to be legitimate reasons.
And who decides that? Apart from God, who decides that, man?
Well, us being the image bearers of God, God has given us the tools so we can come to those decisions.
No, that's not us deciding something apart from God.
We're not deciding apart from God. God has blessed us with the ability so we can come to those conclusions.
In other words, it's his moral framework, which is the deciding factor. It is not ours. It is not our autonomous reasoning by any stretch of the imagination.
Hey, Wayne, do you accept the fact that when God ordered his people to exterminate those civilizations, do you think those people who had ordered killed were good or bad people?
I would say they of course they were bad people. They were evil people.
So if he ordered the killing of infants from a potential uprising, would you say that's a good thing if those children had the potential to become evil like their parents and want revenge?
I don't know, because notice how I use the word children. I don't see in the Bible where God ordered the killing of infants. They were children in the same sense. Like you go over to some places in the Middle East, and there are like child warriors who do evil. So in that's the type of sense I'm talking about.
Because those societies like literally sacrificed their kids and practiced a form of murder called infanticide. And
Right, but I haven't seen in the Bible where God has commanded his people to kill infants. They've killed children because yes, children can do evil things too, but
right,
infants,
because
I'm not sure.
I
Yeah,
don't say you're a Christian, but atheists like to complain because of the fact that they try to make people think that God is evil because he's done acts like this of justice.
yeah, but it's assuming that children can't do evil when they can. So I can see the point. Like if the children were evil and they were doing evil things like murdering people, then like yeah, we got to take them out because they're not beneficial to the population.
This
But-
should be brought up in court. Like if a woman's raped, I think a court should decide in a way. A judge, jury, and everything. If I don't know.
And if their decision is that she can kill that child, that's okay.
It's God's, I mean, it's kind of illegal. What I'm saying is it's kind of a legal thing.
See,
She was
So you are sure that if you stood before God, he would say that them deciding to kill that child would be okay. You're sure God would tell you that.
Them issuing her to kill the child
Mm-hmm.
would be okay.
Are you
I think
prepared to say
I think a
that?
lot of us would be
Are you
surprised with what
prepared?
God would
No,
say.
I wasn't done. Are you prepared to say that God would say that I was okay in that situation, man?
That's a tough decision. And it's tough on the woman, so it would be best to think about it thoroughly.
The point is, you don't know, and if you don't know, then why would you take the risk to sin if you don't know? Why kill? Oh, I don't know whether God thinks this is a sin or not, but I'm just going to take the risk to kill a child anyway.
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't think it's as arbitrary as that. Like I looked up the study, and 70% of the women that had been raped, they still had the child. So
Right, most of them do. That's correct.
whether I say yay or nay, it doesn't matter to me anyways. I mean, it doesn't matter what I say anyways. Still,
My thing with abortion is that I can't picture myself if I had a conscience and if I was a fetus and if I found out my one or both of my parents wanted to terminate me, that thought just scares me to death. I mean, I believe what the Bible says: do unto others what you don't want them to do to you. So I personally wouldn't want my parents to kill me. So why would you want that? Why would you want to treat somebody else any different? You know, if somebody.
the only point that Wayne sticks to is the act of her being defiled, right? And I can sympathize with that, right? She's being defiled against her will. That's the only part that I can sympathize with.
Why doesn't other situations to where innocent people get bad things happen to them justify them harming or doing things to other innocent people? Why not?
Because the circumstances have changed. Like, all right, so if you go out and you just go and you have sex with a woman and you impregnate her, it was mutual consent. Both parties agree, hey, we're gonna go and we have sex, and like you understand the consequences. But when somebody like Antonio, God forbid, somebody like rapes you, like thank God you can't get pregnant, right? Like the circumstances really do change, and like why we understand this as humans. Like, why do you think like if you kill somebody, that's a bad thing, right? But we understand like if somebody rapes somebody and then they kill somebody, why do we look at that person so much more? Because we know like sex is sacred and like it's a deep connection and stuff like that. And so like when you put sex into the picture, especially like sex against somebody else's will, it's a horrible, terrible thing. It's pure evil.
You're not addressing my point, man. I'm saying that you have an innocent person who has something bad happens to them. They get picked on, they get abused, mocked, ridiculed, the worst things. They just snap. Go home, get some weapons, and start shooting innocent people. Is that not justified? But when a woman has something bad happen to her, she can kill her innocent child. Why is one situation justifiable and not the other? Explain that to me.
Well, in the case of rape, right? Some like the father or the rapist, which he doesn't even need to be called the father, but the rapist, when you kill the child, in a sense, it is like punishing the rapist as well, right? Because you know some people are so sick where they would actually find pleasure in this woman having their baby that they put inside of her without her will. So I mean those are some circumstances where like
yeah,
Does the same rape the woman get to blow the brains out with like a 12 gauge of an innocent person?
yeah, but what I'm saying is like it's
No,
not.
You didn't answer it.
It's
Does that same raped woman get to go to an innocent person, take a 12 gauge and blow their brains out? Yes
yeah,
or no?
but but that's the problem though. We're not talking about her getting a 12 gauge. We're talking about her
No,
getting
you're
raped.
not answering the question. if
But I
if
don't
we're
have
talking
to
about
because it's not the same
dude,
situation.
dude, if you're not gonna address my question honestly, then you're not gonna be in my room.
Well, I'll leave then. Have a good day.
See ya. Bye.
See ya. Good job. Good job.
If people aren't going to answer questions honestly when I press them on their positions, then they're not gonna be in my room.
It's frustrating, isn't it?
He was touching on some topics though, like what about the rapist that sends notes from the prison? You know, yeah, my seed is in you, that's my child. We're always connected. Some sick stuff like that. We'll always be connected, no matter what, since you decided to have the baby.
What I'm saying is, if we're talking about the same raped woman, let's say she conceives and she's enraged and she snaps, she is in just the most emotional shock that you could possibly imagine. Would it be okay for her to take a 12 gauge and blow somebody's brains out of an innocent person because that happened to her? Yes or no?
No.
Exactly my point. So what is the difference just because a child is conceived in her body? Why is it magically different? That's what I'm trying to understand.
I think it would be better to go against the act of abortion from casual sex and just pleasure, rather than just stating the rape. The rape victim is something that kind of twist the morality of that individual that the victim is, in such a way that they can behave irrational or not even think about whatever. They're thinking about uh things that are irrational, right? So I don't know, man.
But
you,
you see
you
that as a
know,
clear answer. You see
Antonio,
that.
my struggle with that, right? Me and you've had that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to see both ways, and I'm trying to actually understand. But that side, when it brings up to rape, the act of the conception was a sin. Therefore, I don't know. I'm not afraid to say I don't
What
know
I'm
on
saying
that.
is, you see a clear answer to where she gets, if something really bad happened to her, nobody's underselling this rape thing. This is a horrible situation. Please don't misunderstand where I'm coming from. But what I'm saying is, you see it very clear. No, if something bad happens to her like that, she conceives in rape. She is emotionally distraught from it. She can't just go around killing innocent people because she dealt with that bad situation. You see that as a very clear no. She can't do that. That's clear to you, undeniably clear to you. But when it's talking about her unborn child, you just seem to not know. I don't get why her killing a born child in that situation or a born person is clear to you, but her unborn child is not so clear to you. I don't get it.
Because of the act of the conception.
So an innocent child that conceives in that situation, it's not so clear to you whether they have a right to live or not.
The woman was defiled.
But she can kill other innocent. She can't kill other innocent people though.
I get you're saying too, right? Now it's the same thing. If somebody kills my brother, say I'm in a gang or something, and somebody kills my brother, does it justify me going down the block and shooting people that didn't even probably even have a part in that shooting? No, it doesn't. So I see your side, bro. I see your side, but I just admit that it's a tough situation with the woman being raped thing for me
No,
at the
no,
moment.
no doubt it's a tough situation. I don't undersell that. That's a horrible situation for any woman to be in. What I'm saying is, what is not tough to see is that tough situations don't justify killing innocent people. It may make us feel better that she should be able to have the choice to make that decision in that horrific situation, but it doesn't justify it, period.
Mm-hmm.
I think any abortion under any circumstance is unfair. So
It's also a very tough choice too. I mean, you
It's
gotta.
not fair to the child. Go ahead, man.
Well, it's just a very, very
it's
tough
unfair for the
choice.
child, even if it's a bad circumstance of how it was conceived. If it was rape or if it was an incestuous child, it's unfortunate. I'm not saying that it's not tragic, like that. It does happen, unfortunately, but I just think it's unfair, and nobody has the right to take somebody else's life.
Here's another thing to think about in regards to that. So when a woman, if she's raped and she chooses to have an abortion, so she's basically killing her child. Not only is she involved in that, but she's involving a doctor who then would be part of that. She's asking him to commit murder. So that may be a small thing in some people's minds, but there's another party involved that's committing an immoral act, a sinful, bad, terrible act, which is killing a baby. And I'd like to ask everybody too, just think about this too. Okay, so we have a lot of people who have abortions, a lot of women who have abortions, a lot of which later on in life will have guilt over that or regret. But my question is, I wonder how many women who went ahead and had that baby out of love, maybe kept it, maybe gave it up for adoption, but then later had regrets or guilt over that. I would say that number is probably really, really low compared to the relatively high number of women who've had abortions who've had guilt. And to me, that when you look at that together, that should tell people what the moral right answer is in that situation. I mean, if one is normally or often associated with guilt with people, and the other is an act of love that women overwhelmingly don't regret, then that kind of helps answer the dilemma.
Yeah, and it's like this. If a woman, in the rare situation, a woman decides to have a child in that instance, and for whatever reason down the road she regrets having her child, she wouldn't get to kill her child then. But if she did it early enough, it would be magically fine.
All right.
Like the amount of time changes the moral situation. But the moral situation, for some reason, she can do whatever she wants early enough, but time changes the moral situation. I don't get why you have all these things changing the moral situation. She gets raped, that changes the moral situation of the child. But if time elapses enough, that also changes the moral situation. Where are all these changes in the moral situation coming from?
That's why I was saying earlier, Christians especially, but everybody should live by principles and not by circumstance. So the circumstance, even though the circumstances will change, the principles or the values that we hold do not change. And that's where Wayne was going wrong. He's, if they have a good justification for it, then it's okay. No, that's not the way it works. So that's just not how I think, the Bible condemns murder. So that doesn't magically make it okay to murder someone in my mind, just because a terrible event happened, like we've been saying.
A person with a difficult question he knew would challenge his position severely. He didn't want to address it. He danced around it. And because of that, I'm not going to deal with people who are not going to be honest in their approach to this discussion.
Okay, let me say this. Is it an act of murder when it comes to the rape, or is it an act of killing?
It's murder, period. Nobody is questioning that. That's a horrible situation for a woman to be in. The point is this: circumstances do not affect different innocent people, whether they get to live or die.
It's only murder under your biblical worldview, not according to the law. Is that correct?
Well, if you want to go down that road,
I'm just asking.
It's murder. Say that again. Ask. What did you say?
So it's murder according to your biblical worldview, but not according to the letter of the law.
No, it's murder according.
I knew he'd chime in.
To the will of God.
So they just said, Darwin, worldview. So it's a yes or no question.
Well, he's part of the conversation too. He can chime in.
No, he can't. No, I know, but I'll go off on a tangent, so I just want to make sure that it's fair. So my question was, is it murder? Is it? I'm still speaking.
Does
I'm still
anybody
speaking.
like Haagen-Dazs ice cream? Because I
I'm
love
still speaking.
Haagen-Dazs ice cream. Well, you said I was going to go on into a different tangent, so I just wanted to fulfill your prediction. Does anybody in here like Ben and Jerry's ice cream?
So it's
I didn't hear what anyone's answer was about Haagen-Dazs, because after all, I'm going off onto a tangent, and I might as well fulfill his prophecy.
right. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. Yours come true for me.
Well, good. I'll just compliment you. When you want to make snide comments, I'll fulfill your prophecy.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Go ahead, PG.
All right. So my question again was, is it murder? It's murder according to your biblical worldview, but not according to the letter of the law. Is that correct?
Well, who's to say what the law is? You see, in the United States, the Constitution, in its inception, was to be the final law of the land. But now, ever since 1973, we have unelected judges who have decided that they can invent law out of thin air. So who is actually to say what the law is? Is it the Constitution, or is it whatever Supreme Court justices say?
Well, here's what I'm going to do then.
That was a question, by the way.
I understand. No, and that's exactly my point. No. Hang on. That's exactly my point. You said that was a question. So was mine. You didn't answer my question at all. You went ahead and talked about what laws were invented in 1972 or 3. That's not answering my question also. Then you came back and demanding me answer your question.
What's the question that I did? What's the question I didn't answer?
Oh, God. Okay, this is the 4th time. It is only murder according to your biblical worldview, not according to the letter of the law. It's a simple yes or no question.
Irrelevant question.
Yeah, according to the Constitution, it is murder.
According to the Constitution, I'm not talking about the Constitution. I'm talking about the letter of the law.
The Constitution
that is the final letter of the law. That's the final law of the land.
It's not murder. Okay, then if it was considered murder, then all doctors who perform these procedures would be in prison. Is that correct?
No, that is a false characterization. The reason why they're not in jail is because we've had a number of renegade Supreme Courts who are judicial activists who are inventing law out of thin air that doesn't actually exist, and we don't have the backbone of enough people and elected officials did he leave?
It was the Google glitch again. He's probably on his mobile.
Oh, okay.
But right now, as it stands, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land in the United States.
Sorry, I don't know what happened there.
So when you talk about the letter of the law, PG, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land.
When was the Constitution invented?
When was it invented?
Yeah, let's do history now. When was the Constitution invented?
In the late 18th century.
Okay, what century is it right now?
The 21st.
Right. So do you think that we create laws? We've created laws through I don't know how many centuries. Have we created laws, or is it because you don't like that particular law? The answer to the question was yes. I'm just going to help you out here because you're not.
You don't know constitutional history. You're demonstrating your ignorance right now by that statement.
Am I? At least I can answer a question.
The way laws are created is by a legislature, not by judicial fiat.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you hear my answer?
Hold on. Can you hold on real quick? I need to find somebody who can actually feed me the answers. So let me just make sure I have somebody who can feed me the answers.
Why don't you ask Wolf, because he likes people.
I'm messing with you because Wolf was not being fed the answers. I was listening to that at work.
That's funny.
Yeah, I said that just for you, Wolf.
I immediately noticed the joke. I got it.
Yeah. Okay, you all can move on. I just want to ask that question.
Okay. So.
But here's the thing. Let me answer it like this. What if I said, yes, it is God who makes the rules and not the law? What would you have said?
If it's God that makes the rules, well, I don't believe in any God. So you would have to show me some sort of.
You don't believe in the law enforcement, therefore they don't enforce the laws.
Asking me?
Right. It's saying that.
Conclusion.
I believe in law enforcement, yes, because they enforce the laws. Because
Right. It doesn't matter
Well,
whether
it
you
doesn't
believe
matter
in them
whether
or
or not
not.
you believe it, but they enforce it.
Well, they're actually tangible, so.
So is everything in the world, because everything in the world points to God, so therefore God is. Okay.
The
I'm not
point
sure how
is
that
this. The point is this. You only decide which laws you want to abide by and which ones you don't. You see, if you'll decide that you don't want to abide by God's laws, but you'll decide that you want to abide by man's laws, even if they
Right.
conflict with your moral view. Like a lot of people don't like the fact that. I mean, I understand that marijuana is becoming more and more legal, but for the most part, it's still pretty widely illegal in the United States, and a lot of people can't stand that law. But a lot of people won't, make a big deal about it in the same way they'll make a big deal about God's laws.
Well, the laws that exist right now can actually get you into trouble, get you into court, get you fined, get you in jail, get you in prison. We don't know what happens with God's laws, because if
God's
I went
laws
ahead
get you into hell.
Actually,
I don't believe
that's
in
not
hell.
accurate. God's wrath is actually currently being revealed.
But
See,
let him
that's
finish. I'm sorry, I cut you off, man. Go ahead and finish.
Yeah, homosexuality is a form of God's
No,
wrath.
PG. I cut him off. Let him finish.
Oh,
Yeah, he was referring to Scott.
Now I lost my train of thought. Sorry. What I'm talking about is I don't believe in a hell, because I don't remember who went ahead to with the hell thing. So
Why don't you believe in hell?
because I don't. It's the same reason that you don't believe in Buddha. It's the same reason you don't believe in Zeus.
Wait a minute. I'm not really looking for cute answers. I'm really
Okay.
looking for a substantive
This is about as cute as I can get, man.
Why
I'm gorgeous.
don't you? Why? Well, you
You're
are
looking
a
good,
handsome.
Scott.
I am a good-looking man.
There's no doubt about that. And your medical professional partner has good taste. But I'd like an answer to the question. Why don't you believe in hell? What is your criterion upon which you would believe in hell?
Again, for the same reason you don't believe in Zeus.
Wait.
I can answer however I want, so I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna let you tell.
What you're doing is what you're doing is you're doing the typical cutesy answer. I'm looking for. It doesn't matter what I believe, and it doesn't matter what my criterion is for things. I'm asking you, what is your criterion upon which you would believe in hell?
Okay, I do know what you're doing, because you're looking for an answer that's going to allow you to reply with, okay, good. That's what you're looking for.
I mean, it never ceases to amaze me. I ask a very simple, basic question when somebody says,
and so did
I don't believe
got the
in
answer,
hell.
yeah.
Okay, so why is it that you don't believe in hell?
Because I don't. That's my answer. I'm sorry. If you can't accept,
I mean, isn't that amazing to the people in the room in the YouTube audience? You ask an atheist whose name is positively godless, and he says, I don't believe in hell. And I ask him, well, why don't you believe in hell? And he goes, well, just because I don't. Well, why?
Because the same reason I don't believe in heaven. Because they don't exist.
Why? Hold on. How did you arrive at the conclusion they don't exist?
It's pretty simple. And let me give you my answer, so so you're happy with that. For the it goes back to the reason it goes back to the cutesy answer that apparently you didn't like, because there's how many gods? 3,000 gods, for example. Why does that one have to be one exist? It doesn't make any sense.
All right, let's take a look at the answer. Hold on.
And here's another example. If you threw away all holy books, and that includes the Quran.
Antonio has something to say. Okay?
I'll say this real quick. The fact that there have been numbered to have been thousands and thousands of gods does not mean that there is no hell.
I was in the middle of a sentence. I was incredibly rude.
Yeah, but
I was talking before.
Antonio is the room owner.
I don't care. It's still rude.
I was talking before. Look, you can finish after I'm done. I'm just saying the fact that
let him get his 2 cents in. Come on.
I'm just
All
talking
right, go
about
on, Antonio.
the fact that there were so many numbers of thousands of gods does not mean that there is no hell. You can't use the number of gods to say that the hell doesn't exist, man. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Well,
I want to
what you
ask
said
why.
doesn't. What you said is a non sequitur, and here's
I don't
why.
care. Okay, go on.
Well,
Sorry.
I'm trying.
Sorry.
Well, I'm trying to. Well, you haven't even heard what I've said.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Your statement on why heaven and hell do not exist is a non sequitur, and here's why. Just because there may be a multiplicity of beliefs about the nature of the afterlife does not logically necessitate that heaven and hell don't exist. Okay. Now, do you have another reason that is a non sequitur, that is not a non sequitur, why heaven and hell do not exist?
Sure. It's going to be probably in the form of a question. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay.
I mean,
So
after all, you are a handsome man.
I am a powerful and attractive man.
There you go. Go ahead.
Lying is a sin. dog. Lying is a sin. You need to repent.
So my question is this.
I'm just trying to get Scott to smile, and he did.
No, you make me smile all the time. How do you think I get through my workday? I do accounting for a living.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Scott.
All right. So, and this is a and I know we talked about hypotheticals the other night. So please forgive me if I'm contradicting what I said earlier. So please don't use this against me. However, if you threw away all holy books in the entire world, and all science books in the entire world, what would come back in 200 years? The science books or the holy books?
How would I be able to answer that?
Well, the English, I don't know.
No, there's no way. You see, unless I'm granted a revelation of what the future would be, there's no means by which I could answer that question.
Okay. Fair enough. I like that question.
Okay, good. So you asked me a question, I answered. Now I'm going to return to the question again. You have asserted that there is no heaven or hell. Your first answer was a non sequitur. So on what basis can you assert that there is no heaven or hell?
Through my thought process and research and thinking about other gods. My answer is really not going to change. I don't care if it's a non sequitur. And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I'm probably the most honest guy here. I don't know what non sequitur means, to be honest with you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
That's not a problem. It just means it does not follow.
Okay, fair enough.
I apologize. I shouldn't. A lot of these phraseologies get floated around in the room, and I wasn't trying to drop philosophy speak. So I apologize.
No. I mean, it's a big word like gymnasium.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So a non sequitur is something that is not.
Okay. So all right. So the fact that there's a multiplicity of worldviews and eschatologies, which means the future things, right? That doesn't logically necessitate there is no heaven or hell. So do you have any other rationale that there's no heaven or hell other than John Lennon's song?
Oh, it's a great song. Man, it's a good song, isn't it?
The atheist anthem.
It's a fantastic song, though. It's a fantastic message. There's nothing wrong with it.
It's a complete atheistic rebellion against the creator of the universe. But
I'll say he has a good voice.
But go ahead. Your reason for asserting that there is no hell is?
I already gave it to you, so I have no other reasons at this time.
Well,
if I think of one, I will come back.
So your statement, because there's a multiplicity of worldviews or gods or deities or concepts of the future, that does not necessitate there is no hell. So if that's your one and only answer, then you're not justified in asserting there is no hell.
Well, that's fine. That can be your opinion, and that's.
Well, do you have a justification?
I already gave it to you, and I don't think I need to give.
That's not a justification.
Line? Can I have my line, please? Line? No.
I mean, I guess you could say like there's a lack of insufficient evidence to show that there are supernatural realms that actually exist.
Okay, well that's fine. That would be well that's fine. That's not going to do any help either. That's fine. Okay, hold on. Just to be fair, let's Wolf. Okay, Wolf, your microphone is not that good. So could you repeat the answer, and then we're going to examine what you said.
Yeah, I said, well, you could say that, if you're skeptical of the supernatural, that there is a lack of sufficient empirical evidence to show that supernatural realms like heaven or hell or limbo or wherever you believe it actually exists.
Okay, well, there's several problems in that answer. First of all, Scott did not articulate merely being skeptical. He articulated that it was the case that heaven and hell did not exist.
Yeah,
okay? So you're characterizing that as a skeptical position is not the position that Scott asserted. Number two, that criterion that you laid down would be fine if you were consistent and non-arbitrary in that criterion. But in fact, you see, you do not have empirical justification for a number of core beliefs about the nature of reality that you hold to. But you hold to them in spite of a lack of empirical verification. So you actually are using an inconsistent criterion.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are. Do you have a justification that the physical world around you is real rather than illusion?
Say
empirical
this.
justification?
Just kidding.
I mean, well, yeah. Honestly, yeah. Prometheus grants me the knowledge through his fire that.
No. I asked you. Wait a minute. I asked you a fair question. You asserted that due to the absence of empirical verification, you're justified in being skeptical, and I want to see if you are consistent or inconsistent. Now, do you have empirical verification that the physical world around you is real, Wolf?
Yeah, I would say that those are more you're talking more about basic beliefs. I believe that's
Wolf,
what
do
you're
you need
referring
me to repeat the question because that wasn't an answer to my question?
I mean, what was the answer to your question?
Do you have empirical verification which would definitively show you that the world around you and your sense perceptions are actually indicative that the world is actually real rather than an illusion?
I would say I don't. Like that's
okay.
like, that's
okay,
like,
so you believe the world is real without empirical verification? Is that correct?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's just a basic belief. I mean, that's like
Okay,
saying.
good. So I don't care. You can call it basic all you want.
I don't care. Okay, can I finish? Can I finish before you
Yeah,
like?
go ahead.
Jump?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, like,
You have to
relax.
understand
Anyway.
your mic. Wolf, your mic is constantly lagging out.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, that's like saying, try to disprove the Matrix. I mean, these are philosophical like issues. I mean,
That's
I mean,
not what I asked you.
That's
a red herring.
It's not what
he said. It's like.
No, what I'm showing you is your stated premise that in order not to be skeptical about the existence of something, you need empirical verification. Okay?
You're presupposing that I need evidence for all my beliefs. I don't need evidence for all my
okay.
beliefs.
So could you tell us, are you arbitrary in your criterion?
Could you repeat that?
Yeah, what is your rationale for switching criterion in order to believe in things? Are you arbitrary in the criterion that you select for what you believe?
A criterion for like my beliefs that I hold is that the question?
Do you have a consistent criterion for the things that you believe in?
Sure, just depending on what we're talking about, sure.
Okay, so I've just demonstrated to you that you have an inconsistent criterion. You have a criterion of empirical sensory verification in order to believe in some things like heaven and hell. Therefore, since you don't have empirical verification, you feel that you're justified in being skeptical. But you believe in that the physical world around you is real, but you've conceded that you don't have empirical verification that the world is real, but you believe it anyway. So those are that you are being inconsistent in the criterion for one versus the other. Now, are you being arbitrary in selecting your criterion for things you believe in?
No, I don't think so. That's
okay.
Not
Good. Then
arbitrary.
could you explain to us how it's not arbitrary?
I'll give me more than just a second to answer. Okay. Like I know you like to do your rhetoric and you can do it. Just let me finish. Okay. Can we do that? Now just to begin. Now with that question, how do you know that do you have empirical verification that the universe is, actually exists or whatever. I mean, that's just an axiom. That's just like a basic belief. That just forms the basis for my worldview. I don't have to argue for those things. I mean, that's just true by virtue of its meaning of the symbols. All right, that's nothing. I mean, that's not something controversial. I don't have to prove that to be the case.
Okay, so your most core level beliefs are true because you define them that way?
No, it's not. I don't have to define them that way. You come up with this.
You just said they're axioms because they're symbols. Okay, symbols are definitional. So is something true?
No, that's actually not what I said.
In accordance with reality because you define it that way?
I actually didn't say that. You didn't pay attention to what I was saying. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm waiting.
Yeah. Okay. So as I said, that's just a basic belief. That's equivalent to the axioms of my worldview. That's not something I have to argue for. So you've mischaracterized my entire position. Okay. I don't need to have evidence for my axioms. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Why not?
Because that's circular. That just begs the question.
Okay. So in other words, so you require. Okay. So you don't require justification for your ultimate core beliefs about the nature of reality. Is that correct?
I don't need what. Could you repeat that one more time?
So in your view, you don't require justification for your core beliefs about the nature of reality. Is that correct?
Okay. Well, that's a different question than the one you previously asked. You said, do I have some empirical verification for understanding the world as it is, or something like that?
Would you like me to repeat the question again?
No, I'm getting to it. Just hold on your wig. Don't split it. It's cool.
No, it just sounds like you're rambling to me.
No, I'm not rambling. Just let me finish. So basically, no. I mean, these things are immediately justified. I don't have to justify them with other beliefs of any kind. I mean, that's just the starting point for what I have to say.
How are your core beliefs about the nature of reality immediately justified?
Because they are self-evident. They're obvious.
How are they self-evident? Is it to your see, we went over this the other day and it was quite embarrassing. Is it evident to your senses?
It's obvious. Do you understand what the word obvious means?
Is it self-evident? Do you mean that it is evident to your senses?
No, I mean it's obvious regardless of my senses.
Okay, how are your core beliefs about the nature of reality obvious? How is it obvious that the world around you is actually physically real? Now remember, you just said, hold on a second. Remember, when I ask you this question, how is it obvious that the world around you is physically real? You can't appeal right now to your sense perception because you said you weren't using that. So other than appealing to your sense perception, how is it obvious that the physical world around you is real?
Because Prometheus grants me the power to understand that through his fire that he stole from Zeus.
Okay, well, here's the problem. Is Prometheus an omniscient, omnipotent, always truth-revealing creator?
Oh yeah, for the sake of argument, I'll say yes.
Okay, but I thought you were an atheist.
1 second, Dawkins. That's not how he's revealed in the ancient Greek mythology. So I mean,
So this must be some other Prometheus. See, I want everyone to notice here that I'm asking Wolf some very fair, and no, you're not gonna interrupt me. I'm asking Wolf some very fair, simple, and circumspect questions. Wolf is a well-recognized vocal atheist, right? But now, because he's been cornered with his own criterions being in conflict and being inconsistent, he is now trying to mimic some type of supernatural revelation. But you see, you're an atheist, right? So now what you're doing is you're lying not only to us, but to people on YouTube in order to avoid answering what you act. Yeah, you are. You are lying right now because you don't actually believe in supernatural entities because you are an atheist. Now, the reason why you're lying to us in the room right now and to the YouTube audience is because you've been cornered by your own inconsistent and arbitrary criterion. When I ask you now listen very carefully. When I ask you, how is it obvious that the physical world around you is real? You already ruled out sense perception. And when I asked you that question, you said Prometheus, meaning some supernatural agent, revealed that to you. But you're an atheist. You don't believe in deities. So you're lying through your teeth.
That's not a lie. That's a rhetorical parody. And do you know, why?
Okay, good. So can you answer the question then? Do you need me to repeat the question?
No, I mean, but I just want.
Sure. Okay. Here's the question. Here's the question. Instead of doing stand-up comedy routine, I'll repeat the question. How is it obvious that the physical world around you? Please, I don't want to have to mute you. Okay. Now, I'll repeat the question again. Now you're wasting time because you're doing stand-up comedy. How is it obvious that the physical world around you is real as opposed to an illusion? Now, you can't appeal to sense perception because you just ruled that out two or 3 minutes ago. So how is it obvious that the physical world around us is actually real?
Well, the reason I said because Prometheus grants me the fire. I mean, obviously that was a rhetorical parody because it points out that the nature of what you're questioning is circular. Like that's
You're
all.
not answering my question, Wolf. How is it obvious? How is it obvious? Okay, I'll repeat the question again. How is it obvious that the physical world around you is real as opposed to an illusion? What is the answer, Wolf?
I mean, it's just true.
How is it true? How did you determine that the physical world is real, that is true? Do you have empirical justification for that?
It's neither empirical justification nor reasoning. I mean, it's just a simple axiom. I am not required to argue on behalf of my axioms. I argue from them. That's just not.
So there's some beliefs. There are some core beliefs about the nature of existence that you don't require justification for. Now, the concept of God, that there is an eternal, non-contingent universe, would that be a type of ultimate core belief about the nature of reality?
Would that be a core what of reality? Could you repeat that last phrase?
Would the existence and or belief in a creator God be a core belief about the nature of reality?
I would say so. I mean, it is an ontological claim.
Okay, good. So why do you require empirical justification or justification at all for one ultimate core belief, namely the concept of God, but then when you turn around and in your other core beliefs, such as the reality of the physical world around you, you jettison justification or verification. You believe in the laws of logic. You don't have any justification for that. You believe that nature operates in a law-like way, which is another core belief about the nature of reality. So you see, you have a number of core beliefs about the nature of reality, which you wholeheartedly embrace by calling them axioms. And by calling them axioms, you say that they don't require justification, but you demand and insist on having a justification for another core belief, namely God as creator. So could you tell us why you're being arbitrary in terms of your criterion to believe in things?
Well, I wouldn't say that it's arbitrary. If a person is making, let's say, a statement about the ontological state of the world, correct, and that it actually has effects of some kind, I would just ask, like, what are the reasons, or what are the?
What's your reason for believing that the physical world around you is real? Because that meets the your ontological category that you just mentioned.
I mean, like I said, I mean, that's just an axiom.
You know,
That's a start.
your criterion is an absolute flip-flop mess. You have an arbitrary criterion for certain core beliefs, right? That you just sit there and say, well, they're axioms. They don't need any justification at all. But you just acknowledge that belief in God would be another type of core belief about the nature of reality, and yet you demand justification for that. So the question is this: why do you require? Please don't talk over me. Why do you insist and demand justification for one core belief, namely that there is a creator God, but you don't require justification for other core beliefs? Could you tell us why this is a non-arbitrary selection of criterion?
Well, because I'm not arguing for any presuppositions. I'm not saying you're, I
didn't ask you about arguing for anything. I asked you, why do you see, now you're changing the subject. I didn't ask you why you're arguing. I said, why do you require justification for one core belief, namely God, versus a justification for other core beliefs that you have? Can you please explain to us why you are being arbitrary in the criterion that you have for some core beliefs versus others?
Well, again, I'm not arguing for any particular. I'm not arguing for a foundation. I mean, you're arguing.
I didn't say you were arguing for anything. You're talking about your beliefs.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not.
Do you need me to repeat the question for a third time?
I mean, can you let me finish? I mean, like, I don't.
You're not answering my question. You keep changing the subject.
Yeah, go on, repeat it again.
Okay, why do you have an arbitrary criterion, one for one core belief, and in this case it's God, that you require some type of justification or empirical verification, but for other core beliefs about the nature of reality, you require zero justification because you slap on the label axiom. So could you tell us why you are being arbitrary in your use of criterion in order to believe in different core beliefs?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm being arbitrary because I haven't made any statement.
Good.
Let me finish.
Okay, so why do you have a different criterion then?
I'm going to finish my statement that you interrupted me on. All right. Anyway, I never made any statement about requiring any evidence for a belief in a God. I've never actually made that statement. You just asserted that.
Could you tell us why you don't believe in God then?
I'm actually going to finish. Thank you very much. I know you got this weird tick. I'm an atheist. I'm really disinterested in any, God claims or God beliefs or whatever.
Are you an atheist?
Yes.
Okay, good. Could you tell us why you don't believe in God? What criterion has not been met?
I just don't see any real reason to believe in a deity. I don't really.
Okay,
I don't.
What criterion would need to be fulfilled under your classification of reason in order to believe in God?
I mean, I would have to see what reason you have. I would have to ask you
what criterion would have to be fulfilled in order to believe in God, since you are an atheist.
I mean, I would honestly have to look at whatever theistic claims you're making at the time.
So you don't know why you're an atheist then?
I know why I'm an atheist. I don't.
Okay,
I don't
good.
see.
Why is it that you don't believe in God?
I just said I'm not aware of any real substantial reason to believe in a deity. I just gave that answer.
Could you please unpack what you mean by reason? Obviously, reason refers to some criterion, does it not?
What was that last bit you said?
Okay, when you say you don't see a reason, in other words, a certain criterion has not been met in order to believe in God. What would be the criterion that you would have to be fulfilled that would be non-arbitrary for you to believe in God? Because you see, if it's arbitrary, then we can dismiss all of your reasoning.
I mean, I really don't. I'm really not. I'm trying to. I mean, I just gave like the criteria for why I don't believe in a deity. So I mean, if that's
what is
if
your
you,
non-arbitrary criterion for not believing in God?
I just don't think you really you have any real substantial evidence to actually sustain that belief.
Okay, what is the criterion that would lead you to believe in God? If a particular criterion were to be fulfilled to you, what would that be? And is it non-arbitrary?
I guess if there was some kind of great sign or some grand
Oh, you mean
revelation
empirical verification?
No, not empirical verification, just some
Well,
kind
then,
of.
if it's not empirical verification, how could it be a sign?
I mean, it would. I mean, like I said, it really depends on what claim that the theist is actually
Okay,
making.
so I'm still waiting. What is your criterion in order to believe in God, since you're an atheist? I mean, this is like pulling teeth.
Well, I'm an atheist. I'm not really interested. Like you're asking
Okay, no,
someone
you
who's
told us
like,
you're an atheist. Okay, so you don't believe in the existence of God. So, Wolf, listen, this is really getting frustrating. What would be the criterion that would cause you to believe in God? What is your criterion?
I mean, I'm not really interested. Like I said, I'm not really interested in any God claims. I mean, it's like asking me, "Hey, are you?"
No, you're an
interested in
atheist. You don't believe because a criterion hasn't been fulfilled.
I know. And here's the thing: you're constantly asking me like a dogmatic weirdo repeatedly, like what criteria I would have.
I'm asking you a legitimate question.
I'm not interested in your.
What is your criterion that has not been fulfilled? Which is the reason why you don't believe in God. What is that criterion? Tell us that, and then tell us why it's not arbitrary.
Well, I mean, like I said, I don't feel like there's any real. I don't think it could be rationally justified, to believe in a deity.
You're not answering the question. You're just talking around it.
Let me say one statement right quick, and I'll let you continue. Wolfman, I think at this point it's like beyond obvious. Like your arguments are just getting utterly refuted and destroyed, dude.
Yeah, dude.
I'm almost done. May I finish, please? I'll let you speak. It's obvious, dude, that I mean you're just being arbitrary and all this stuff. I mean, why don't you just repent and be reconciled with your creator, man? The gospel's a free gift, man.
Yeah, okay. You want me to answer your question? Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. He seems like there's some, I don't know, like some kind of agenda that I have. I mean, I just said I'm an atheist. I'm not really interested in any God claims or even
okay. Well, Wolf, do you have a criterion by which you would believe in God?
Like I said, I'm really not interested. If there was evidence, I probably wouldn't change my position, honestly.
Okay, Wolf, do you have a criterion by which you would believe in God?
I don't know. I don't think so. I'm really not interested.
So you have no rationale or criterion for your belief or disbelief in God.
So wait, repeat that last bit.
So you have no rational criterion to believe or not believe in God, but you've just simply selected not believing in God because you don't have a criterion. That's called being entirely arbitrary.
No, that's not. I just said I don't.
Oh, you're not arbitrary? So you're not arbitrary? Is that it, Wolf?
I mean, you haven't really given me a reason. All you've done was
is your disbelief in God arbitrary?
What is your argument? Like, you haven't actually given anything.
Disbelief in God. Okay, I'm asking you a question. Is your disbelief in God arbitrary?
Argument. What is your argument?
Okay, Wolf, the last 30 minutes, you have been dodging my very simple, clear, and circumspect questions, and it's embarrassing. Do you have a criterion for your belief or disbelief in God? Yes or no?
Your side hasn't given a substantial reason to believe.
Okay. what would be a criterion to believe in the existence of God?
I mean, you have to have some kind of evidence or proof that would demonstrate that it would be actually the case.
Okay, good. So God is a core belief, and in order to believe in God, your criterion in order to believe in that core belief would be some type of demonstrable evidence. Now, do you require demonstrable evidence in order to believe in your other core beliefs? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, good. So you're entirely arbitrary in the things that you believe. And being arbitrary and inconsistent is the classic quintessential sign of irrationality.
Okay, hold on. So basically, so here's the thing. If that's the case, then why are you arguing for your presuppositions then? I mean, that's just, you're just begging the question.
I haven't argued for my presuppositions in my conversations with you.
Yeah, you have. You keep saying that.
No. Okay, listen very carefully, Wolf, because you have a vivid imagination. I haven't argued for my presuppositions today in my conversation with you.
Today, okay, now you qualified it. Today, that's good. That's good.
That's right. Good. Now, the bottom line is this. You have just admitted, okay, and it's on record, that you don't have any criterion to believe in God. But then you turn around and say, well, nobody has given me demonstrable evidence. So one minute you say you don't have a criterion, and then the next minute you say you do have a criterion, which is some demonstrable evidence. But then when I ask you, what is the demonstrable evidence for your other core beliefs, namely that the world around us is real? Is there demonstrable evidence for the uniformity of nature, Wolf?
That's just an axiom. That's not.
No.
Need.
Okay, well, okay, good. So in other words, what you're doing is you're playing the nomenclature game. So the things that you want to believe in, for which do not meet your criterion for a core belief for God, you just call it an axiom, and you want to call it a day. But that's just nomenclature dropping, Wolf.
You're just adding. Okay, let me ask you this. Like, you brought up the uniformity of nature. How do you reconcile miracles with the uniformity of nature? How do you do that?
It's not a problem at all. The resolution to the situation is that the laws of nature are never actually violated. The miracles of God are the result of God's upholding all things by the power of his will. We have unseen forces acting upon things that we can see. Now, the fact that God's unseen forces, and by the way, the word for miracle in the Greek comes from the word dunamis, meaning power. We get the word dynamite from that. So it is the power of God who upholds all things. So God can do miracles without actually violating the laws of nature. Now, somebody being not, okay, hold on, I'm not done. I'm answering your question. Someone as a human being not being omniscient may observe a particular amazing phenomenon that is due to the power of God, and they might reason that the laws of nature have been suspended or violated, but that is not necessarily the case. I'll give you a case in point. I want you to imagine you're sitting at a table, right? And you're sitting at the dinner table of one of your friends. And the father comes in and he places a frog on the table. And all of a sudden, the frog is levitating. Now, you're looking at the frog. There's no strings. There's no nothing. You put your hand underneath it. You examine it. You grab the frog. Okay? Now, is the frog levitating in air on the dining room table? Are the laws of nature being violated?
Is that a question?
Yeah, that's a question. The frog that's levitating on the table, are the laws of nature being violated?
I would have to look at the data and the actual experience.
You're looking at the data. You're looking at the frog. It's on the table. It's levitating on the table. Are the laws of nature being violated?
I think we would have to take a look at that.
You are looking at it. You're sitting at the table. In fact, he hands you the frog, and you can examine the frog. He takes the frog back, he puts it back on the table, and it starts levitating. Is the levitating frog on the table the result of a violation of the laws of nature? Well, Wolf?
I would say I would have to check the gravitational forces, making sure. I mean, it's like it could be
Wait
a
a
trick.
minute. Hold on a second. There are no gravitational forces in Einstein in the theory of relativity. What you have is mass is causing the curvature of time-space. So when we talk about gravitational forces, that's pre-Einsteinian relativity. Okay? So I'm going to ask you again. When you see the levitating frog in front of you at the table, are the laws of nature being violated?
I don't know, honestly. I would have to look at
Well, that's a fair answer. I don't know. Now, and by the way, do you know why I asked the question? Is because there was a group of scientists who invented a little gizmo that emitted sound waves, and they put it inside of a table, and they put a tablecloth over it, and the frog levitated through the sound waves, but you couldn't hear it, and you couldn't see the disturbance through the tablecloth. So the frog was actually levitating by unseen forces, unbeknownst to you at the table. So what appeared to be something that violated the laws of nature was actually the product of unseen forces. So if God upholds all things by the power of his will,
yeah, I would actually say
then miracles do not necessarily constitute a violation of the laws of physics. Now you can go back to the Angstreich groupies and tell them that that question has been answered.
Well, actually, I don't think it is, because see, that's why I said I didn't know, because I would have to look and see if it wasn't a trick or something.
Then you don't know that a highly unusual phenomenon that appears to violate the laws of physics or nature is in actuality a violation of these laws, or a suspension of these laws.
That's why. That is why I asked you the question. How do you reconcile?
I just explained it to you.
Can I finish?
I explain it by God upholds all things by the power of his will, and unseen forces can act upon things that we see and produce highly unusual phenomenon that don't violate the laws of nature, but that give an appearance that one might reason as a violation of the laws of nature.
Okay, but how could you infer that? How could you infer that, like in
I didn't infer that. It's a direct revelation of God.
Exactly. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense.
Well, wait a minute. Do you hear me? I didn't infer it. God says, Colossians 1, and in Hebrews, he upholds all things by the power of his will. It's not an inference there.
Could you make could you explain the process of how that will work? I mean, how does he beam it into your head to know that? I mean, how does that work?
The revelation? No, you see, the Bible teaches that God caused providentially holy men of past to write down the very message that he intended. That is a revelation of God. Now, the bottom line is, it's a nice segue. You see, you're trying to distract from the problem, but here's the central problem. You see, you're trying to filibuster your way out of this. You have a criterion that in order to believe in God, you need some empirical demonstrability or justification. And you state that in the absence of empirical demonstrability, that you will withhold belief in God or presume that there is no God. But you see, you don't apply that same criterion to your other core beliefs. So your criterion for belief in God versus your criterion for your other core beliefs that you want to call properly basic beliefs is an inconsistent and arbitrary one. And if one is inconsistent and arbitrary, that's what we call irrationality.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I going back to what you said.
Of course you wouldn't. Of course you wouldn't.
Here's the thing. Like you said, you didn't infer it. You got it from you got from the Bible, and that, you know, that he wrote it like he applied pen to paper. I mean, that would just be going back to the authors. How do the authors know about like God's revelation? I mean, like it just doesn't make any sense. Like how?
Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem. If you do not accept that it is the case that the God of the Bible has produced different types of revelation, such as natural revelation, innate revelation, and special revelation. If you do not accept that that is the case, then you cannot make sense of anything in existence. Because then, in order to make sense of your existence, because you said, well, it doesn't make sense, because that presupposes that you can make sense of things in your worldview. So I'll ask you this: how can you make sense of anything in your worldview when all of your core beliefs about the nature of reality, from which you reason about everything, are unjustified axioms for which you have no rationale for? So how do you make sense of anything in reality?
Well, I mean, that's just, those are my starting point axioms. They're
How do you
immediately
make sense out of anything in reality, Wolf?
they're
What's your starting point that justifies something makes sense? Is it the axiom that nature operates in a law-like way? Oh, that's right. You don't have a justification for that. So anything that you reason from the uniformity of nature, you claim it makes sense. Well, it makes sense because it's just your arbitrary assumption. So in your worldview, you see, in your worldview, what makes sense is that which comports to your arbitrary assumptions and core beliefs that you call axioms. That's how your world makes sense. And you atheists want to tell us that you're atheist due to reason. Seriously?
straight across the.
Anybody else want to say anything? I think I've completely demonstrated
I think
Wolf's
that, yeah.
completely irrational worldview.
I think that was very thorough, DD.
Dawkins decimated me, man.
What was that last bit you were asking? Like I got sidetracked. What were you saying?
Yeah, you said it doesn't make sense. That presupposes that some things in your world do make sense. Is that correct?
I was just asking, like, how did the authors know?
Do some things in your do certain things in your world make sense?
I'm just asking a question. Why are you being so defensive?
I'm not being defensive. I'm being assertive and asking you questions.
I was just asking you, how did the authors understand the revelation? Can you explain that?
I'm sorry. Could you? You're breaking up. Could you please repeat the question?
Yeah, I was asking, how did the authors know that was God's actual revelation to write that in the book? I mean, like, how did they actually? Could you
They don't. Well. First of all, if you want to know the answer to that, what you should do is pick up some books on systematic theology, dealing with the inspiration of the Bible. Okay, because I won't do justice to it, but I'll take a stab at it. Okay. First and foremost, what you have to know is that God's revelation being carried through to its intended target is not dependent on the fallibility of men's actions or the operations of their mind. So when the God of the Bible, who is omniscient, omnipotent, and always truth revealing, whatever his revelation is, whether it's natural revelation, innate revelation, or special revelation, it never fails to reach its target. Now, what one does with that infallible revelation is an entirely different matter. And you see, in your case, you have rejected the revelation of God, okay, that you are a sinner. You need to repent because you're under the wrath of God, as we all are, including myself, until we place our faith in Jesus Christ. So you either accept or you reject the revelation of God, exactly like what Eve did in the garden. She was in a situation. You either accept the revelation of God or you reject it. Now, if you appeal to saying, no, I want some independent verification of the revelation of God, then what verifies that means of verification? Okay. See?
I mean, all that.
But when you ask for justification, when you say, well, how do they know? How do you know your axioms are correct? Why do you hold to your axioms? Do you know do you know they're correct?
I'm just asking. I mean, like it just seems kind of circular that the revelation. I mean, like you know because they were inspired. I mean, like and they were inspired because of God. I mean, like how does that work? I mean, it's true because the Bible says it's true. Like how would that?
No,
actually,
the revelation God is true is because whatever God communicates is infallibly true. Okay.
Make you infallibly true because you have this revelation, or like
No. I'm not infallibly true, but the revelation that God gives and sends is sent infallibly. Now the question is, we either accept it or we suppress the truth and unrighteousness.
I mean, how does that? How does that work? How does one get the revelation? Like, what is the?
Well, let me ask you a question. Have you ever read the Bible?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. You have received the revelation of God. Do you accept it?
I mean, I've read it. I don't see like how the revelation actually takes place. I'm actually asking.
No. So the answer is no. You do not accept the Bible as God's revelation. You have concluded that this is just a human product.
I mean, that's
but
just,
you see,
that's just
here's the problem. Here's the problem. When you invoke circular reasoning, I'm going to ask you a question. If you oppose circular reasoning, do you oppose all circular reasoning?
in the case of when you're trying to make an argument, yeah.
Do you oppose all circular reasoning?
It's fallacious, yeah.
Okay, good. Then can you explain to me how anything is ultimately justified or verified? Now, remember you told me that you said that you wanted some empirical demonstrability or justification. Now, could you tell me, how do you ultimately justify that something empirically indicates something else? What authority would you appeal to in order to determine that that's the case? Would it be your mind?
You were asking, okay, I guess it would have to be dependent on my sense if we're talking about empirical, but the reason I asked.
Okay, so it would depend, your ultimate authority to determine that something has been empirically verified your ultimate authority is your sense perception. Is that correct?
You asked about empiricism. I just gave you the answer about empiricism.
No, I didn't. I didn't mention empiricism.
Can I finish? Yeah, you actually did. You said empirically. Let me just finish.
No. That's not the same thing. Empiricism is not the same thing as saying empirical demonstrability.
Circular reasoning. All right.
Okay. I'm asking you if you reject. You just said, let's go on the record. You rejected all circular reasoning. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, when does circular reasoning actually work?
So if you reject all circular reasoning, can you avoid circular reasoning when you verify something?
Can I avoid circular reasoning when I verify something? Yeah. Well, if I'm not trying to prove what I start out with, yeah, like that would make sense.
Okay. No, you can't. Here's the problem. You said you wanted empirical demonstrability for the existence of God. Now, who is it that makes the ultimate decision as to what observations empirically demonstrate what? Is it you?
Well, it depends on what are you referring to? The universe, or?
Well, you told me all circular reasoning is fallacious. So I'm testing to see if you're guilty of the very thing that you condemn. Now, you stated, in order to believe in God, you need empirical verification. Is that correct?
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
Let me ask a clarifying question. What do you think I'm guilty of? Let's just assume that that's the case. What am I guilty of?
You are guilty of suppressing the truth and unrighteousness. You are now in full-blown rebellion against God who loves you and desires to save your soul.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the circular reasoning. If I reject all circular reasoning,
Right.
what am I guilty
of? If you reject all circular reasoning, then you're not going to be able to appeal to any final authority that anything is the case. Therefore, you can't reason for anything.
You're referring to the Christian
Therefore,
God.
if you can't,
how do you validate the laws
hold
of
on a
logic?
second, Brojo. If you reject all circular reasoning, then empirical demonstrability is impossible.
Okay,
Because
just going.
you're going to have, wait a minute, you are going to have to rely on some final and ultimate authority as to the nature of sense perception. Is that correct?
Why does that have to be a final authority?
Okay, then how are we going to know whether something is the case or not?
I mean, it's just like what you were asking.
Wait a minute. I'm going to ask you a question. Who decides whether a physical observation is demonstrable evidence for God? Is it me, you, who?
Well, I mean, you believe in a God, so
No,
I would
you're
say
not.
that.
You see, you have a nasty habit of not answering the question. You stated that you wanted empirical demonstrability for the existence of God. Now I'm asking you, who has the final say-so as to whether or not physical phenomenon empirically demonstrates God?
Well, I guess if you're talking about humans, but how exactly would that?
Okay, what humans? You, or is it a plurality of people? Who has the final say-so that would determine that certain physical phenomenon are the case and are demonstrable empirical evidence of the existence of God? Who would that be without generalizing? Who would that be? Would it be you?
Well, I wouldn't know because I'm not aware of like what an omnipotent, omniscient.
Okay, you're not answering the question again.
I did answer.
Who would have the final say-so as to whether something is empirical evidence for God or not? Would that be you?
I mean, well, certainly not me because I don't have this revelation that you claim to hold.
Then who is it will have the final say-so?
Who is
it? Whoa. Who is it? You see, you're being entirely evasive. Who is it?
Evasive, I'm not answering your question. I don't know because I'm not aware of what this guy
is it, Walt, who is it that will have the final say-so as to what phenomenon is empirical evidence of God? Who would that be? Because you said you want empirical demonstrability. If it is not you, then who is it that you would get it from that would indicate what is empirical evidence for God? Who would that be?
Probably not you. Probably not you.
Who would that be?
I'm not sure because you haven't really given.
If you're not sure, how can you claim there needs to be empirical demonstrability if there's no one to say what is empirical evidence of God or not?
Well, because I mean, I asked you like several times, like how do you get over this?
Notice everybody, he's completely dodging. Every question I ask him, he dodges.
Yeah, I think it's time to get him out of here because he's not going to answer any questions.
Yeah. I'll ask you again. Who determines? Okay, Wolf. Who determines what is empirical evidence for God? Who would that be?
I don't think anyone, honestly, like at least in this room, because I mean, I asked you.
I'm asking you, in your mind, who would it be that makes the determination what is empirical evidence for God? Who would that be in your worldview?
Not who wouldn't.
Right. Who would that be?
I don't know. I mean, like, I don't.
You
I would
don't
imagine.
know? Did everybody hear that? He says, I don't know. If you don't know, who would have the final say-so as to the nature of phenomenon that would be empirical evidence for God? Then why are you laying down a criterion that there needs to be empirical evidence in order to believe in God when you said you don't know who that would be? You see how foolish you sound?
No, I mean, dude, I asked you if you had any, if you could explain your revelation. You said it was like,
I already did.
no, you didn't. You just said it was, you reject all circular reasoning, and if I'm guilty of that, like, how does circular reasoning work in your revelation to God? Like, I mean,
Well,
was
you see,
virtue?
I'm going to ask you a question.
No, just answer the question.
How is it wait a minute? How is it the case that all circular reasoning is fallacious? Who determined that?
I mean, it's a logical fallacy. I mean, like, if you try to.
Okay, stop right there. Stop right there. Are there laws of logic that have been violated?
No, just answer the question. How do you get beyond that? Like, how does that work? Does it begin and end with the glory of God, or like what? Like, how does that work?
I don't
Like,
understand your very vague and non-specific question. How can I answer you that gobbledygook?
Well, I'm asking. I mean, you try. It sounds like you've invoked circular reasoning in your position. I'm just asking, like is there any other?
Wait a minute. Whoa. I'm not opposed to all circular reasoning. I'm opposed. Okay, please don't interrupt me. I'm opposed to some circular reasoning. Now I'm asking you, how did you determine that all circular reasoning is fallacious? Well, you said it's a logical fallacy. How did you determine that something is a fallacy? Is it because it violated the laws of logic?
Well, yeah. I mean, your argument
okay, good. Have you determined that there are laws of logic?
Have I determined that? Like, what about the laws of logic?
Have you determined that there are laws of logic? Because you said something is a logical fallacy. Therefore, something violates some logical laws. Have you determined that there are logical absolutes?
Well, yeah. I mean, they're just true.
Oh, okay. How is it the case, and please don't ask me about my worldview, how is it the case that there are absolute, universal, invariant laws of logic? And do you have empirical demonstrability for that? Because that's your criterion for God.
They're not. Well, yeah. I mean, it's just a self-evident proposition. They don't.
Okay,
they don't
we went
need
over this again yesterday. And if you want to go over it again, that's fine with me. Is it self-evident? Are the laws of logic self-evident to your sense perception?
It's just by its meaning. It's not.
Okay.
It's not by.
Okay. I'll repeat the question again. Are the fundamental laws of logic self-evident to your sense perception?
I already answered that.
I didn't get an answer to it. That's why I repeated the question.
Yeah, by virtue of them having those qualities, they are true just by that virtue.
How are they true by their virtue? What does that mean? That sounds very circular to me. I mean,
well, no, because
it's not circular? Okay, if it's not circular, how did you determine that there are absolute laws of logic?
Can I finish? Excuse me for talking.
Well, if you had a better connection, it would be a problem. You keep on lagging out.
Well, then stop talking over me. Okay, how about that?
Yeah. When you go in and out, how am I supposed to know when you're speaking? So, how did you determine that there are absolute laws of logic?
Okay. All right. Let me just. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oops.
How did you determine that there are absolute invariant laws of logic?
Yeah, they were revealed to me.
Really? How?
well, Prometheus granted the fire that allowed me to
Okay, do
actually.
everybody see what foolishness he's doing? Okay, because he's been painted into a corner by the principles of his own world view. In order to avoid coming to the realization that his worldview is foolishness, what he's trying to do is imitate some type of theistic revelation. But you see, you're an atheist. Is there demonstrable evidence for Prometheus?
Well, of course not. I mean, it's just a rhetorical parody. I mean,
Oh, okay.
the reason
So I'm looking. Listen, Wolf. I'm looking for an honest. Okay, did somebody remove him?
Yeah, I removed him. He's trolling. He's
Okay,
just
good. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Good. He deserved that. I think I've categorically demonstrated the utter irrationality and foolishness. Now, Wolf is your typical atheist out there. He runs his mouth. He gives non sequiturs. He contradicts himself. He's arbitrary, and he's completely inconsistent. Now, isn't it interesting that when I ask him very clear questions about his own statements, he answers questions that he hasn't been asked?
Mm-hmm. I mean, you clearly showed the inconsistency.
I mean, by far, this is like one of the most insightful classic hangouts ever. Like his worldview was just utterly destroyed. I mean, like I mean, you covered so many different angles. Like, I mean, it's just beyond clear that he's suppressing the truth and unrighteousness. He has arbitrary standards. He has double standards. He's very hypocritical in his way of thinking. And then he's trying to argue for something he doesn't believe in, like Prometheus.
Right. This is what happened. He got painted into a corner by his own statements. He was not taken out of context. They were not loaded questions, right? And so when he gets to the end of his rope, what he comes back with is a parody of appealing to some deity. In other words, he has no answer. I think I categorically demonstrated conclusively that Wolf is being arbitrary and inconsistent in his rationale. I mean, it couldn't be any more self-evident that he was being arbitrary and inconsistent.
I definitely agree 1,000% on that. And the whole thing with Prometheus, like Prometheus was a created being. He's just a son of a Titan. So how does that fit with like whatever it calls the universe has to be eternal? Like, how do the character? Oh no, Slim Jim, you're out of here, dude. I'm sorry, dude. My casting pros before reprobate heretic like you. You need to repent.
You've had your issues with him. I say he could come in, but if you have your issues with him,
you're just casting pros if you do a hangout with him, man.
All right.
Well,
I didn't
if that's the same Slim Jim that I've dealt with in the past, I don't know that it is. But he claims to be a Catholic, but he just does nothing but troll.
Yeah, I definitely agree. He's a waste of time, man. I don't understand why people give him the time of day.
I mean, really, I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but have you ever seen a more crystal clear case of an atheist just babbling incoherently after asking very clear questions about their own stated principles?
I agree 1,000%. In fact, I was telling Antonio earlier, man, that he should do like an edit of this video and just like make a section with you and Wolf titled "Atheists Refuted and Exposed," because I mean this was one of those really.
Now you'll notice he tried to change.
Do that. I'll add some dank memes in there too, man. MLG.
Now you'll notice that he tried to derail the conversation by invoking an alleged problem between miracles and the laws of nature. Now, I answered it, didn't I? Okay. And then I went back to the same questions that I asked him. You know what? He's so good at tap dancing, he really should buy himself some tap shoes. He might be able to make some money in Las Vegas.
It's a common atheist dodge, Dawkins.
No, atheists dodge.
Oh, of course they do. They dodge questions that they don't like. The problem with atheists is that they build their worldview based on material, trusting their senses, but they don't bother looking for evidence which would show that there is no God. You know, they have like this double standard with evidence, you know?
Well, you'll notice he said he opposed all circular reasoning. If he opposes all circular reasoning, how can anyone, including Wolf, state that anything is the case? Right? Because all he has to do is state a particular state of affairs, and I'll say, how did you determine that? Were you the final authority, or was it somebody else? Well, how do you know that they're the final authority? Right? And ultimately, it's going to come down that somebody's going to have the final say-so as to what the nature of reality is, either in part or in whole. And whomever that final authority is, uttering that they are the final authority, that will be circular, won't it? But you see, he opposes, you heard out of his own mouth, he opposes all circular reasoning. If he opposes all circular reasoning, then how can he assert anything is the case? Oh, that's right. He'll appeal to his unjustified axioms. In other words, he will have no justification for anything other than some arbitrary assumptions that he makes about the nature of existence.
Yeah, dude is utterly arbitrary, man. That's why I love the precept argument. It just shows that it's just like, you know, how could you believe, you know, that in the laws of logic, right, that they're just necessary and that they're there with, you can't believe that God exists.
Well, I like to call it, we should say, that's why we love the biblical approach, because we're taking what the Word of God says and we're applying it to the reasoning of atheists. God says you can't know anything without him.
But the same way that he was raising in his position is the same type of crap that I've dealt with from pro-aborts for years. They're arbitrary, inconsistent. They're all over the place. They don't have any firm foundation. Even if you go by their own secular worldview, it doesn't work for them.
Right. Now, do you remember when PG was in here earlier? Okay. PG made a bold assertion: there is no heaven and hell. And then I said, how did you determine that? Right? And he answered it by saying there's all these different views. And I said, well, that's a non sequitur, because just because there's a variety of different views doesn't necessitate that undead. I'm going to mute your mic. Okay. Just because there's a variety of views doesn't logically necessitate that there's therefore no hell. And when I pointed out to PG that he was offering a non sequitur, and once he understood it, and I said, well, do you have any other basis for your assertion there is no heaven or hell? He had none, and he didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, it's like saying like you can't find the answer what is 2 + 2 because the multiple multiple choice has 3,000 answers you can choose from. Obviously 2 + 2 = 4. It doesn't matter how many multiple choice answers you can choose from. It could be 2, 1,000, 3,000, 300 million. At the end of the day, 2 + 2 = 4. So that was pretty stupid. But Undead, you had something to say?
No, I'm good. Thanks. Go ahead.
Another thing, he kept on pulling out, well, such and such is self-evident. Well, evident to what? Why did it cause him utter bewilderment when I asked him, are the laws of logic self-evident to your senses? And what was his response? Well, they just are. Now, wait a minute. This is a guy who's an atheist. In order to believe in God, he wants some empirical justification. Well, why is it that you accept no justification? You just state that it is. Sounds like circular reasoning to me, doesn't it? Well, the laws of logic exist. Well, why do they exist? Because they exist. But he told us he was against circular reasoning. And yet he was using circular reasoning for the laws of logic, wasn't he? So by his own words come back to condemn him.
Go ahead, Undead. You had something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that's common among atheists, having double standards. To say they say one thing, but then they say another.
I'm just thinking, like, because he keeps talking about all these logical contradictions. I wonder if he has a problem with the infinite regression of authorities. So I'm pretty sure at one point he's going to have to justify ultimate authority. And he's going to have to appeal to his own quote unquote virtuously circular appeal. But on one hand he'll argue against infinite regressions, that they're a logical contradiction and don't make sense. But then on the other hand, he doesn't want to admit that he has to have some type of ultimate authority himself.
Well, of course he has to have an ultimate authority, because if he didn't, why would he be speaking it? Would his statements about the nature of reality just be throwing a dart blind and hoping it hits the bullseye? Oh, that's right. He calls that an axiom.
Well, the thing is, there is no proof or evidence for atheism, and it's like they have this double standard with evidence. They demand evidence from our side, but they don't even bother looking for evidence on their side. It's like an example of a double standard. It's like I hear arguments all the time, and based on what I study, it's like I listen to both sides and I come up with my ideas based on what I read, and then I make a decision. But when it comes to the idea of there being a God, it's like atheists are just fixated with it, that there's no God and that's it. They say they would believe in God based on evidence, but it's like they don't really look for evidence.
That's what I was pointing out. That it's a phony subterfuge on their part, because if they were really required evidence for the core beliefs that they have, then they wouldn't believe in anything.
Yeah, atheists, they or non-believers in general, like the atheists, the agnostics especially, they're like their spiritual father who loves to masquerade, and he loves to masquerade as an angel of light, and they love to masquerade as skeptics, and which it's clearly not the case at all whatsoever.
I have this hypothesis believing that atheists don't like the idea of serving God. Like they think the idea to worship God is weak, and they think it would be much better for them to like serve themselves. I question atheists all the time. Who do you serve? And since they say they don't believe God, they just say they either serve themselves or their families. I just think it's atheism is basically the worship of the self. Basically what their father came up with. Like if you read the Bible and read what it says about Satan, they're like following Satan's example of like serving themselves.
And the foolishness of it all is that the God of Scripture is not saying sacrifice your firstborn to an idol. He's not saying walk up and down a temple on your knees till your knees bleed. He's not saying starve yourself to death so that way you don't kill any living organisms as a holy fast like Jainism teaches. He's not, saying stupid things like in Buddhism where it's like you have to rid yourselves of desires, even to the point where mothers leave their husbands and their children because they, as a way of kind of trying to sanctify themselves, they rid their desires of motherhood and the attachment to their husbands. If it's as clear as day what God is teaching in Proverbs and Ecclesiastics and throughout Scripture, and that's that He wants us to live a virtuous life, to stay away from vices, to live an honorable life, to live wise, to be holy, to be loving, to be forgiving, to be humble. He's not telling you to live a wacky life. So it's just like this idea that if they're worshiping God and that they're honoring God, it's something that's left field or it's something that's stupid. It's just they really don't know the God of Scripture at all whatsoever.
Yeah, and I think this is the second time in 2 days that I've spoken with Wolf, and we get the same mental gymnastics and dodging. He wants to make assertions, but when he's questioned about that, all we get is this massive evasiveness.
Right, and because, you know, we were talking about evidence earlier, right? How come, because, you know, he keeps talking about evidence this, evidence that. Obviously, without God, I mean, there wouldn't be evidence to begin with, right? You know, because God is the one who accounts for the preconditions of epistemology to begin with. But even if we were to look at it from an evidential standpoint, because he says he denies the supernatural, like, how do you explain the scriptures being, prophecy being fulfilled? All the dozens and dozens of prophecies that Jesus fulfilled. I mean, if that doesn't scream supernatural to you, then, you know, I'm not sure how much more is he's looking for. But the prophecies, fulfilled prophecies themselves, point to the supernatural clearly. So
I don't think they're looking for anything, to be honest. You know, the Bible says that if they were truly seeking God, they'd eventually find him. Like, if they're sincere, if they like read the Bible and basically study God, and then basically they could look back on the historical evidence and make a conclusion that God exists. You know, even atheists who have studied the Bible, a lot of them, like Lee Strobel, he was an atheist and he did his own investigation, and he went from being an atheist to a Christian. And there's a popular book that he wrote called The Case for Christ.
right. Yeah, I heard statistics that it's put like this, like the prophecies of like I think 8 prophecies being fulfilled by one person is like 1 in a tenth to the 17th power, and yet obviously we know that Christ fulfilled way more than 8 prophecies. Some even estimated that he fulfilled over 300, and even more to come during his second coming. So you know, the evidence doesn't phase them. Um, you know, showing their bankruptcy of their philosophical presuppositions doesn't phase them, and it just proves the scriptures too that they suppress the truth from righteousness, that enmity with God, there is no fear of God before their eyes, that the natural man cannot understand the things of the spirit, and apart from the grace of God, man, is
I
they're
think
not going to seek Him.
I think a lot of them don't really care about history. They're all about the here and the now. Like, I speak to atheists and I try to encourage them to like do some archaeological and historic research about what archaeology has uncovered in the Bible, and there's so much evidence for it. Yeah, there are a few gaps about a few things in history, but you know, there's this popular website that I found that says that archaeology has been able to uncover at least 53 people from the Old Testament. If anybody is interested, I'll post the link up if you want to look at it. But
Yeah, definitely post a link if you may. Yeah, I was reading something yesterday where it was saying that the earliest copies that they have from Plato's writings, are copies that were that are over like 1,000 years from the original source, and nobody denies Plato's existence. Nobody denies Socrates' existence. Yet you have these New Testament manuscripts, which are not even uh, more than 100 years. Some could even say, less than 70 years. Some say that, I believe in Paul's letters, I think to the Corinthians, or well as Paul's letters, like our time span from like 40 years or something like that after Christ. But yet all these people want to, deny the validity of Scripture, the historicity of Scripture, and like this one atheist we're dealing with yesterday who was saying that he didn't even believe that Jesus existed, even though all the non-Christians in the hangout were like, I don't think that's the way to go. That's a bit foolish. So, it's just it's just their pride because their worldview is a cursed worldview. You know, God's not going to allow you to have that worldview and not reap what you sow. And the consequences of such a worldview that's in rebellion of God is gonna lead you to foolishness. People become arrogant. They become haughty, very proud, foolish in their thinking, given over to unnatural passions, and so they have to humble themselves, which of course is something that they're not willing to do. But instead, they rather appear as being, rational, free thinkers, logical, moral, open-minded, um, non-superstitious, or however they'll say. But it kind of reminds me of like social justice warriors, or like these cultural Marxists, Trojan horses that love to title themselves um, after like social justice movements, even though they have an agenda. You know, they'll say Black Lives Matter, or they'll claim to be for women's liberation, like feminism, or the LGBT, and they'll masquerade behind titles like justice and equality and peace and love, but those are just fronts to usher in another agenda. And that's the same thing with the atheist. The atheist is going to consider themselves to be rational, logical, free thinkers, and all this stuff, but they're not really who they project themselves to be.
I put the link on the side if you guys want to check it out. It would be pretty interesting, just for your own knowledge. But yeah, last year when I last looked at this idea, you only found 50 biblical characters. Now it went up by 3. Now we have 53 biblical characters confirmed that have existed through history based on archaeological evidence. It would take a while for you to read, but basically they list the names of people they discovered, and it includes people like King David, King Xerxes, and a bunch of other pharaohs that have been known to exist that the Bible mentions, like within the Old Testament, of course.
Yep, and there used to be a time where people denied that King David existed. Of course, the archaeological findings refuted that as well. So,
yep. Last I heard, they think they're about ready to find some evidence about Solomon. I mean, right now, there's very little very little evidence that suggests that Solomon existed, but I think they're getting close. The more I read into the archaeological stuff, they keep on discovering more and more stuff, which gives the Bible more credit in terms of evidence.
Mm-hmm. Of course, so, but I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
No, I'm just trying to see if Sugar in the chat will be willing to come in and talk about this abortion thing, because she believes in decreasing the need for abortions, and I just wanted to see if she'd be willing to come in and talk about it.
She's such a double-minded woman, man. I mean, yeah, you could have a go at that, man. That woman is lost. She's extremely lost, man. I mean,
did he leave?
Yeah, he left.
Oh, that's strange. He usually says goodbye before he leaves.
Right. You have these atheists who are hardcore humanists, and it's all about love and it's all about peace. Of course, some of them are like, were brought up in that hippie era, like, which I'm sure she probably was. But I mean, of course, there's no justification for it. So they're always trying to peddle love and peace and people's joy and people's happiness, even though they have no objective grounds for that. It's just their mere subjective preference, yet they're real dogmatic about that. And
when it comes to God, they just have a heart of stone towards them. It's like they don't want, I don't know, just based on what they say about God, it just tells me like it's like they say they don't believe in God, but yet when you try to but they have this if scenarios, they act like if God showed himself to me, then I realized that he doesn't exist, and they would act like that they wouldn't want to worship him because they believe, according to the Old Testament, he's committed to murders, genocide, and all these horrible crimes or atrocities that they try to attach to him. That's their mentality. So even though I think a lot of these atheists, they say they don't believe in it, but I think in truth they really just hate God. So they basically don't want to acknowledge him.
I mean, that's what the scripture teaches. They just don't want to give him glory. And of course, one of the aspects of giving God glory is recognizing His authority over creation, is recognizing, that He is King over creation, that He is Lord, that He is sovereign. Um, and so, that's something that they're not trying to give him. And of course, as their spiritual father did, they have to have this false view of God. And like their spiritual father, they're accusatory and slanderous in nature, because of course that's what the word Satan and devil means, accuser and slanderer. And so that's all they can do to God is accuse him, um, is accuse God and be slanderous. Like one of her views is like, I just don't understand how God can allow this to happen, Like God is supposedly like evil, or He's not as holy or not as merciful or loving, but she thinks that she's somehow more loving and merciful than He is. But the reality is this: the problem with humans is that, and even in a lot of Christians that have this humanist viewpoint, where it's like they're looking at the whole scripture like all it does is just revolve around them and humanity, when the whole purpose for God doing everything that He's done is just to demonstrate His glory. It's for His purpose. We're mere clay and He's the potter. And so, we're not the only creation in this world. There's different realms. There's heaven. There's a realm where the where those
Right.
who passed on from this life. Hold on one second. That pass from this life to the next. There's angels. There's animals. There's all types of angels. There's different classes of demons. There's all types of folks that are out there. And so I'm going to need you to mute yourself, Sugar, if you don't mind.
Well, actually, I invited her in. I appreciate you coming
Yeah,
in,
but I'm
Sugar.
talking, so I'm gonna need her to mute herself because I ain't finished saying what I'm saying. So she can mute herself.
Well, I did. Well, to be fair, man, I did invite her in. I'm not saying she shouldn't mute. I'm just saying I did invite her in just to ask her about some abortion stuff. Go ahead,
Okay,
finish your point, bro.
with her not to mute herself. That's pretty rude. Thank you. Can you mute yourself, please? I'm almost done. So yeah, like I was saying. So the whole purpose is you can't have this man-centered view of like how life revolves around you. It's about God's purposes and what He has decreed to do, and He's chosen to demonstrate His glory in many different ways to show His long suffering, His patience, His love, His mercy, His graciousness, His long suffering, and we're just a means to an end. So when you have this idea that how can God allow this to happen to human beings and that to happen to human beings, God doesn't revolve around you. You're just. Can you guys hear me now?
I can hear you clearly on my end. I think it was just on Undead's end.
Okay.
I hear him now, but it was breaking up before.
Okay. So the whole purpose is that the gospel and creation and the purpose of God creating humanity does not revolve around humans. They revolve around His glory and His purposes. And whatever God wants to do with certain humans, He has to do that. If He wants to save some and doesn't want to save none, He has the ability and He has the sovereignty to do that. If He chooses to drown a whole bunch of people for being rebellious, He has the ability to do that. If He chooses to use the Israelites to murder a bunch of Canaanites who sacrificed their children to the fire, He has the ability and the right to do that. But of course, people who are only looking for their own interests, they're going to look at God like, oh, that's mean, that's messed up. Well, this is God's world, not yours. And so,
That's right.
There's only one on the throne, and it's Him. It's not you. But with that, go ahead.
That's absolutely right, Brother Carlos, and I appreciate that. I mean, it's the truth. They don't have to like it, but God reigns, and He does what He wants and how He reigns how He wants. You don't like it, that's too bad. But I was just interested in something Sugar said about being more interested in decreasing abortions. What did you mean by that?
I don't quite know how to explain that any more than those words already explain it. I'm more interested in creating a society where people don't have to make that decision. Seems like the best of both worlds.
Okay. So does that mean that it's better to have that as the end goal rather than talking about the procedure should be illegal?
I don't know how it being illegal is going to fix it, how it's going to meet your agenda, because we already know that in history, when it's been illegal, people have still obtained abortions, and then more people die because then the baby dies and the mother dies. So I don't know how that serves.
Well, can I show you some
It serves the purpose. Let me
information?
just make a quick comment.
Well,
It serves the purpose
I
that
gotta
when we make murder
wait.
illegal.
Well, hold on, Dee Dee.
Okay.
I gotta show her some information that shows that, like in the United States, for example, before abortion was made legal, it was not true that you had all these women dying and left and right. Let me just show you some information.
Well, I never claimed how many died, but that there are that die. You know that Russia and China use abortion as birth control, right?
Well, abortion definitely did exist. Abortion has existed for thousands of years. There's no question about that.
Yes, but what you're saying is you're trying to prove to me somehow that to me, one life dying is too much. So if you're going to tell me that, oh, it was only a few, well, that doesn't mean anything to me. All life is sacred. All life is sacred to me. So one death is as good as 50,000.
But here's some information.
Can I make one statement after you?
Yeah. Dr. Mary Calderon wrote in 1960, abortion is no longer a dangerous procedure. This applies not just to therapeutic abortions as performed in hospitals, but also to so-called illegal abortions done by physicians. In 1957, there were only about 260 deaths in the whole country attributed to abortions of any kind.
Mm-hmm.
In New York City in 1921, there were 144 abortion deaths. In 1951, there were only 15. And while the abortion death rate was going down so strikingly in that 30-year period, we know what happened to the population and the birth rate. Two corollary factors must be mentioned here. I'm not done yet.
What's your point, hon?
I'm not done yet. First,
I'm not
chemotherapy
disagreeing with you.
and antibiotics come in, benefiting all surgical procedures as well as abortion. Second, and even more important, the conference estimated that 90% of all illegal abortions presently being done by physicians. This is in 1960. Call them what you will, abortionists or anything else. There are still physicians trained as such. Many of them are in good standing, are in good standing in the communities. They must do a pretty good job if the death rate is so low as it is. Abortion, whether therapeutic or legal, is in the main no longer dangerous. So what I'm getting at here is, if we make abortion illegal, years ago, as was stated by a lot of people, that you'll have all these women, being forced into more dangerous situations because abortion is illegal. That's not true at all.
Okay, again, based on because you're asking me, right? So I don't make up all the rules. I can only answer for me. For me, one life is as good as 50,000. So when you're telling me that doesn't mean anything, there's other. I mean, that holds no water to me. One life dying is a problem for me. Right? Because us not holding life in the highest degree is the biggest problem.
Well, I'm not so much looking at this as a numbers game. Rather, where I'm going with this is this idea that women will be necessarily subjected to all these horrifically unsafe procedures. I mean, I don't care how safe the procedure is to me; it's still wrong. But what I'm getting at is this whole hysteria about making abortion illegal, could be a serious problem. That's just not true at all. It wasn't a serious problem. It wasn't a serious problem before abortion was made illegal, and we have no reason to think it would be all of a sudden a serious problem when made illegal. So making abortion illegal is not a bad thing.
That's what you say, because it's a serious problem when one dies. When one dies, it's a.
Hold on, because I've been.
No, don't. Hold on. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Sugar. But let me put this at you. Can we do two things at once? can we work on decreasing abortions and making abortion illegal at the same time? Can we do both?
You're on mute.
You gotta unmute yourself.
Yeah, I know. I didn't put myself on mute. So whoever muted me, why don't you unmute me?
Okay.
All right, next time you get smart, I'm gonna boot you out the room. I don't care.
No. Calm
Next time
down.
you get smart, you'll have something intelligent to say.
Calm down, brother. I'm just trying to get at something real quick.
So godly.
Just real quick. Isn't it possible that we can do two things at once? Like, say that we should not have this procedure legal at all, yet work on decreasing the numbers at the same time.
I'm going to say no on that one, because in my opinion, that if your God really wants this, all he has to do is make it so. Just let it happen. I mean, I want to know. I want to know why then, because it's funny. I never really gave God much thought at all before I came here, and I came to the Great Debate area on accident. I didn't even really hang out on the internet at all. But when I retired early, I came onto the internet. I didn't know about chat rooms or any of this stuff. So I grew up not knowing or having any kind of God experience at all. Although, except, people that I was around. Of course, there's Christmas. Would you stop interrupting me? Dude.
So basically your point is it's impossible for us to do two things at once. Make abortion illegal.
It's not impossible. It's not impossible, but I'm not quite sure how that serves your view in a positive way, because that's really what we're talking about here, right? It's about humanity, right? And yours is about God. So I don't know how that serves you.
Well, that's the underlying foundation, but everybody has
that doesn't get people to God. That doesn't get people to God.
Well,
Antonio,
here's the thing. Here's the thing. It may get certain people to God. Other people may not get to God that way. People will get to God a number of different ways. So
But this isn't our concern. That's between the person and God. I mean, why are you going to create a law, or why are you going to advocate a law when the relationship for forgiveness, for entrance into heaven, is between the human and the God?
Well, that's just another way of saying that they can make up their own moral. That's just another way of saying that they can make their own moral frameworks and don't have to regard God in the question.
Wait, but that's what we're supposed to do, right? Isn't that what we're supposed to do? Isn't that why he doesn't intervene? Because we're supposed to show our character and we're supposed to do these things?
Not necessarily, but I'm gonna go ahead and stop talking and allow.
Antonio, could I just respond to one point that was made, and then Carlos keep going?
All right. Well, Carlos been waiting for a while. I'm gonna let other people speak. Go ahead, Carlos.
All right, and we'll just let Alex figure out that. Okay, this woman, as always, is all over the place because
I'm all over the place.
And you're gonna mute. Next time you interrupt me, I'm booting you out of this room, okay? Because this isn't a platform for you to scorn God and be a mocker and a scoffer. If you want to do that in your own time. You're not gonna do this on this platform.
Well, you know what? Can I just say something?
Wait, hold up, Dawkins.
Sugar and I, you just real quick, okay? I don't agree with Sugar, but I think you should give her the benefit of the doubt, okay? I've dialogued with her many times.
I've had many hangouts with her, and she does the same thing all the time, and I don't appreciate it.
Okay, I'm just saying I think you should give her the benefit of the doubt. I don't agree with her on almost anything, but just give her the benefit of the doubt.
I don't agree with her position, but she hasn't acted out of pocket in here, not that I can see.
All right, well, you guys are fine, but let me continue what I'm trying to say, okay?
All right, go ahead, man.
Go ahead.
If you guys can mute, that'd be fine. First of all, you said that you view life to be sacred, right? And that losing one life is like losing 50,000 lives, right? So how does it make sense that if people are to end abortion, it's obvious that if abortion becomes illegal, way less babies are going to be aborted. Way less babies are going to be aborted, right? Now, obviously, people are going to decide to break the law and do their back alley abortions. But you can't sit there and put the blame on God and not put the blame on people who choose to be irresponsible. And by breaking the law, I mean, you can't baby people. They're going to have to reap what they sow. There's consequences to your actions. All right. So if a person wants to murder a child because for whatever reason that they want to do, and they do it in an unhealthy way, whose fault is that but their own? As unfortunate as it may be, and it sucks that that's the case, that happens to people. People know right from wrong, okay? And if the law says you are not to get abortions and you decide to get an abortion anyways, and you do a back alley procedure and it ends up killing you and the child, that's unfortunate. But we didn't force that upon that person. You didn't force that upon that person. That person decided to break the law. That person decided to disobey God, and just those are the consequences. That's just reality. That's just the world that we live in. There's cause and effect. You can't baby people. The way this world is that people do reap what they sow. So it's obviously the best thing to do is eliminate as many abortions as possible. The first thing to do is to outlaw abortion. And if you view life as so sacred, I don't understand why you don't adopt that position. Because
that's why I said we can do two
All right,
things at
before
once.
wait a minute,
Go ahead.
before we move on, Terrell, could you please say hello? Terrell.
Yeah, who's Terrell? And never mind. Okay, go on.
Yeah, I think we know who that is.
So, Carlos, should I make the point that I wanted to make, or do you want to let Sugar respond?
No.
Can I respond?
Back and forth with Sugar.
May I
Yeah.
respond? May I respond to what? May I respond to what he said, please?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
I
go
want to
ahead.
make sure. I want to make sure that people are not thinking that I think one way, because he's made some implications that are not true.
Sure, that's fine. Go ahead.
I'm not mad at God. How could I be mad at something that I don't believe in, that I don't believe exists? You're missing the point. I'm not one of those people that is angry. I didn't come from religion. Religion didn't do me wrong. I'm not, upset about somebody lying to me about something like that. That just didn't happen. I was raised to be in service of humanity. This is how my grandmother taught us. She taught us to care for one another, to not slam religion. She would be very, very upset if she were here to see this today, that I would even participate in this would offend her. So this is my focus. It is different than yours because you want people to obey God, which again, I don't know why you insist on fighting this fight when apparently in your religious view, God's supposed to have it all taken care of. Why are you doing his job for him? You're already breaking those commandments. You're going after people time and time again.
That's a
You're not supposed to.
misrepresentation of what the Bible says.
I will correct that in just a moment, if you don't mind.
Okay.
So for me, this is about enhancing the experience of the human on Earth, in my view, the way that we only have one, by working together, by lifting each other up, by making each other the best that we can be. I don't want any kind of Sodom and Gomorrah or whatever you think of me, the way I look or whatever. I'm a celibate woman. I don't have a boyfriend or anything like that.
I'm pretty sure you're a good woman. I have no problem with you.
All right, so what you're advocating is called utilitarianism.
I don't care. I don't care what
Sugar.
see, I don't care what any of that's called. I don't need labels, right? I don't need to be called an atheist. I don't need to be called whatever. What I need to know is that every single day that I get up in this world and I make sure that I do something to make me the best that I can be, so I am there for my brothers and sisters. If somebody needs help, if somebody needs some assistance, if somebody needs compassion, or if they're lonely, I don't want anybody to have a bad quality of life because I believe that we have just this one life. And you know what? I'm fairly confident that if I get anywhere when I die that is other than in the ground, if there is any deity that will approach me, they will have no problem with that. And if they do, well, then I will deal with the consequences.
Okay. All right. What you just said, I know you don't like labels, but it's important for me to use it. What you just advocated.
Why?
May I finish, please?
Yes, but why? Why is it important?
I'd like to finish. Okay. What you just advocated is called utilitarianism, that the highest good is achieving the happiness of most, as many people as we can maximize. Okay. Now, you have just elevated the personal happiness of the most people as the highest good. That is rebellion against God. Our highest good is to love the Lord thy God with all your heart, strength, and mind, and love our neighbor as ourselves, not the personal happiness of the most people possible. Because it may be the case that the most people,
Did I say
Well,
happiness?
that's what
Did I use the word happiness?
No, you didn't have to, but that
Oh, no,
was
no,
the
no,
gist.
no, 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 no,
That
no,
was
no,
the
no.
gist of what you were
You would
saying.
no, you wouldn't accept that. You would never accept that.
Okay,
Now,
so
I
you're
didn't say
trying to
happiness.
reach what? Okay, so what are you trying to maximize?
My main focus right now is I don't want to hear about religion. I don't want to hear about evolution. I want to make sure that we get each and every human fed, clothed, housed, and connected with community before we do anything else.
Why?
Because I think that it is because of the sanctity of life that it is everybody's
How can you
right.
have? What do you mean the sanctity of? How can you have
that I was
sanctity
just
of life
I was
in a
just
non-God
about
world?
it is a word that you understand, and we understand that it is it's a big thing, right? To revere it, to make it important, right? So whether it has God behind it or not, you understand the word, and everybody else that understands it
Why
gets
is
what I'm
life
saying.
important?
Because it's all we have, and it's apparently what we have here. I'm experiencing this however I am, for whichever input that we all judge life and reality by. This is where I am at. This is where this entity is right now. And what I
Okay, is that
experience is
value
when I see other humans suffer, it hurts me. When I see
Okay,
the
are
homeless,
your
it
value
bothers me.
judgments objective or subjective?
Wait. It's Alex's turn to speak. He's been waiting for a while.
I just wanted to make a point about the woman who might get illegal abortions in the alley and hurt themselves or die. About that point, I mean, I don't see how it holds any water because murderers might as well hurt themselves. If they murder someone in the alleyway, they might trip over a rock, get hurt, they might break their neck somehow. So should we give them a legal and safe way to murder so that they don't hurt themselves or so that they don't die? I mean, I'm just taking your standard and applying it elsewhere.
That's ridiculous. That's you can apply that standard if you want, but I don't think that someone with my mindset would never accept that kind of bullshit.
Well, that's because it's a ridiculous standard, right?
Well, no, what's ridiculous because I don't agree with abortion, right? So you've got me wrong there, young man. I don't agree with abortion. I don't think anybody should have to have one, but that doesn't stand. I mean, if you are on the right, if you happen to be more conservative, more likely than not, you're going to vote for capital punishment. So then what does one do with the executioner? He gets to go home at the end of the night.
Well, both of them should go to jail. They both participated in the crime. They both should go to jail.
So Sugar, you said you value all life. Is that valuation objective or subjective?
The only thing in my world that is objective is birth and death. Everything else in my world is subjective.
Okay, so that valuation is subjective. And by the way, you just evolved that way. What if people evolve differently not to value humanity?
I don't care about evolution. Again, all I care about is people get fed, clothed, housed, reconnected to community.
You have to have, in order for you to make a statement that humanity. I don't. Can I finish my statement?
Yeah.
So you didn't even say, in order to utter that humanity has a particular value, that statement has to be spoken of from within a worldview.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it does. I'm going to explain to you why it does.
Okay.
You can't make an objective statement about the nature of reality that is worldview free.
I didn't.
Well,
I didn't. About reality.
What is your worldview that places that human beings are valuable?
Because I'm
Based
valuable.
upon what?
I'm valuable, and everybody else is just like me. So if I'm valuable, then they're valuable.
Okay, so in your worldview, are you the product of a creator?
I don't care.
Well, it does matter because you see.
It matters to you, but it doesn't matter to me.
But then you see, then any conclusions about the nature of reality are just subjective guesses. You have no foundation on which to make those statements.
That's good. Okay, I'll agree with that. You say I have no foundation, but so let's still get people fed, clothed, housed.
So all you're simply telling us is you value people. So what? So you like chocolate ice?
Yeah. I value life. I don't value all people.
And some people don't. And some people don't value life, like Mao Zedong, who killed 65 million people. So
yeah, you're right. And how horrible that was. How
Why
tragic
is
his
it?
life,
Why,
how tragic his life must have been that was the path that he chose.
That's your value system. It wasn't his.
I don't have control over
You
all
see, his
people.
ultimate.
I only have control over me.
His ultimate. You see, Mao Zedong, who killed 65 million Chinese,
Mhm.
his ultimate value was that that communism would prevail to do the greatest good for the people of China.
Right.
And people are going to die anyway. So if he has to eliminate 65 million people to achieve a better life under communism for the billion of Chinese people, well, that's his valuation. So when
Each
you
and every
when
one
you
of us have the blood of death and war on our hands. Every time that the majority stands by and lets the minority, government, military, whatever, voters decide, when a country that is a democracy chooses to have low voter turnout and then they go to war, that country goes to war and goes and kills people, we all have blood on our hands. So what's the difference? I'm just as much of a killer.
What's wrong?
I'm just as much of a killer. Well, I
So
don't
what?
prefer it. Unless you're talking
Okay, so
about
you don't like it.
defense.
Why is
Unless
killing
you're
wrong?
talking about.
Do you eat
Listen,
meat? Do you eat meat?
yeah, and I didn't say killing was
Okay,
wrong.
well that. Oh, okay. Well, how come you don't
Okay.
value the life of other sentient creatures?
Because that's the way we are, because we eat.
Okay, so you're a speciesist.
I don't know what those things are, nor do I care.
Oh, you're elevating human. Well, what if we have some aliens who land here? And by the way, Stephen Hawking says we only have about 100 years. So what if in 50 or 75 years, some aliens land and they view us as some very nice crunchy shrimp to eat as a delicacy?
So be it. I don't believe in aliens, so I'm not worried about it.
Okay. Well, the bottom line is this: is you're offering a value. You say, well, all human life is
I'm
valuable.
not offering anything. I'm doing what compels me, and what compels me is to try and create a better,
What is compelling you are your subjective, your valuation.
Yes. My subjective.
Your subjective valuations. Your subjective valuations, whatever they are not in any sense binding or obligatory on other people's thoughts or behavior.
Listen, I'm just trying to get people fed, clothed, and housed. I'm not trying to take anything away from anybody. So,
I didn't say you weren't trying to take anything away from anybody.
Yeah, but you're trying to paint me in a light that is
no.
I'm
just simply saying you're saying that
I don't know how godly people could be against what I'm for. I don't understand how godly people could ever be against what I'm for.
Nobody said
You
that.
can send me to you can send me to hell.
Sugar.
You can send me to hell.
Sugar in a God-free world. Why is anything valuable?
To me, I can only speak for me. In my God-free world, humanity is valuable.
So
I'm that way?
I'm that way? I don't mean any. Hold on. I don't mean any disrespect. Okay.
But you
because
will.
I felt that they should give you. Okay. No. I am not trying to do you any disrespect. Okay. But why should we care about what you value?
I cannot dictate whether you care or not, but I can tell you that my life has not been great. I've had a lot of tragedy and pain in my life, and I don't want it. I don't want anybody else to go through that. And I believe that as humans, we are powerful and that we can rise above the crap that has just been given and handed down to us. And I think that we can turn these things around and we can peacefully, and I don't care what they are.
That's a value judgment that a certain state of
so what?
The point is that your statements don't comport with your words.
Stop.
That's what they're getting at.
Stop. Everybody stop.
Go get a girlfriend. Go have some.
All right, if she disrespects Alex one more time, I'm gonna boo her.
Yeah. That's not called for, Sugar. Come on.
The dude's 16, your grandma.
Sugar, I agree with you what you're saying about human life. I really do. I see what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I just want you to know.
Let me have a question.
Antonio, 1 second. The problem.
All right.
Here's the issue that I have. She's ridiculing for me for imposing my godly values on humanity. When she imposes her subjective values, somehow her values are more righteous or more noble and better than mine. And
they are, and that's what pisses you off.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Sugar.
Thank you.
What about your values? I was just about to ask you that question, actually. What about your values has a stronger foundation and where society should go than ours.
Wait, question. Before you answer, Sugar.
Sure.
Are you saying that her values are like kind of incorrect because she valued life over God?
No, that's not what we're saying.
No, what we're saying in a God-free world, her values are meaningless.
And she has a double standard. She's basically ridiculing for me for imposing my values, yet she's imposing her values. So I'm just trying to show that how she's being hit. She's being real.
My values are all inclusive. Your values want to separate humanity.
Okay, Sugar, that's an entirely fallacious statement to say your values are. It is. Wait, hold on a second. It is logically incoherent to say that your values are all inclusive, because some value. Listen very carefully. I promise you, I will be brief. Okay, give me 30 seconds. Your statement that you are entirely value inclusive is logically incoherent, because if it was the case, then there are some values that contradict and are mutually exclusive to other values. So then that means that you would hold absolute contradictory values that you would be inclusive of them both when they are contradictions. So you can't actually be. So you can't actually be all inclusive.
So well, tell me what it is.
Well, there are some people who value that might makes right. Are you inclusive of might makes right?
In which situation? Can you please give me an example?
Sure. There are people who think that whoever has the greatest military should rule any particular geographical area. That's called might makes right.
Yes,
now,
but I don't agree. I don't agree with that type. I mean, that would involve killing, and I don't go with killing.
All right, but do you understand hold on, when you say that you are entirely value inclusive, there are values out there in the world that
I didn't say entirely value inclusive. I said I am for the entirety of people, to keep people unity.
No,
to keep
I will
people
quote what
as
you
one.
said. I will
Please
quote
do.
you. You
Please.
said that you were entirely value inclusive.
I don't even know that term, so how could I have used it?
That's what you just said.
No, I repeated that, but originally.
Originally, you said that you were
what did you mean?
completely
What did you
value
mean?
inclusive.
What did you mean, Sugar?
I don't know. I don't know that term, so I must have misspoke because I don't even know. I don't even know what that means.
Okay, then what did you mean then?
What I meant was, because she had asked, were you objecting to me, about my belief? And I said, I am for all people, right? I believe that the other young man, Carlos, I believe his beliefs are not the same as mine, that they are a different motivation, that they want to cast people out, they want to separate people, and they want to categorize people, and I don't agree with that. I agree that all humanity is humanity. Not that we have, listen, I don't think we have to agree on stuff. I don't think that I don't have to believe what anybody else has to believe. All I think that we need to do is keep our hands to ourselves and play nice in the sandbox.
So we shouldn't categorize people?
Work hard to elevate each other in our
these are all platitudes that belong on greeting cards.
A prime social justice warrior.
Right. So you said we shouldn't categorize people.
Warrior, not even close.
Okay. Now, so you said we shouldn't categorize people. Is that your statement?
There's males and female humans, and that's it.
Oh, okay. How about lawbreakers? How about murderers? How about rapists? That's categorizing people. Should we categorize people?
Yeah, I suppose, but as long as you don't put a gender or a race,
you
don't put a gender, a race, or a religion
good. You just contradicted yourself. You just contradicted yourself.
So what? I never said I was perfect.
Well, so what? Well, no, I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm just pointing out.
On this issue, does that make a difference to what I?
What it makes a difference is when you utter a contradiction, it's incoherent.
Is this good for you? Do you want to be perfect? Do you want to demand everybody's attention? And this is good for you?
No, you're not.
No. I want to ask you what you're doing for humanity. What are you doing?
Okay. I'll tell you what.
All right, calm down.
I'm an anti-feminist.
Okay.
Everybody knows that.
Listen. Okay. All I'm telling you is
I'm an anti-feminist.
All right. All I'm trying to explain to you, Sugar. Okay, and I'm not trying to be critical of you. All right. But I'm going to disagree with you. That many of the statements that you make are incompatible with your general worldview.
No,
Okay, and so all they
that's
come down
assuming that
to.
I have
And
to be perfect. That's assuming that I can't ever learn.
I said
That's
nothing
assuming that I
about.
can't.
You're not listening to me. You didn't
I
listen to
am.
what I said. I'm pointing
You're-
out to you. Listen, I'm pointing out to you.
You know, you're shaping minds, right?
Okay,
You're
I'd
actually
like to
having an
finish my
influence on
statement.
people. So what
I'm
you should
trying
do
to
is use
point
your
out
powers
to
for
you
good
that
and
you're
not
being.
evil.
You're
Use
very
your powers for
Hold
good
on
and
a
not
second.
evil.
Stop. Okay,
You're very
okay, in order, listen, Sugar, in order to have evil, you have to have an objective standard of the good. You can't
There is humanity. There is good in humanity.
Okay, what is the objective standard of the good?
I told
It has
you.
to be.
there-
It
I
has
told
to
you.
be. Hold on.
I told you. There's only
It
birth
has
and
to
death.
be.
There's only birth
It
and death.
has to be objective and not. Okay. When you articulate what is
It's
the
unrealistic.
ultimate.
It's unrealistic.
Can you not interrupt me, please?
Apparently not, because you don't
If
seem to
you're
do it
going
either.
if you're going to assert that good and evil exists,
Mm-hmm.
you can't have evil without the good,
Mm-hmm.
and the good has to be objective and not subjective.
Says you.
So, no, this is if you say that the good is subjective,
No, I
then
didn't say that.
it's okay.
I said
Is
birth and death is the only objectiveness
Okay,
in my
you
life.
don't know how to listen. You said there is good and evil.
Yeah.
Either good and evil is objective or it's subjective. Which
Says
is it?
you. Well, it has to be
No.
subjective in my world because I said that only in my world, only death and birth are objective.
Do you understand that good and evil is either objectively true or it is a subjective concept?
No, there's degrees of everything.
Okay,
The reality,
this woman
that's the
doesn't.
whole
This woman
sermon on,
does
that's the
not
whole
have the
sermon on the
foggy-
mount thing.
She does not have the foggiest idea of what she's talking about.
Yeah, she's very bitter and insecure because she just feels.
Stop muting me, please.
I'm a moderator
No,
this out, and I can.
I removed her from the room because she has some of the she has probably some of the most atrocious basic thinking skills of people that I've encountered. Now I can
Not
talk
to
to
mention what she said about Alex was uncalled too.
Okay, I can talk with some of the most rank atheists on there, and they will agree that good and evil is either objective or it is not objective, right? And she doesn't. She's shooting off greeting card slogans, and then when I'm asking her what grounds those statements, she says, "I don't care what grounds them." Okay. When you try to ask her, just give me 30 more seconds. Just give me 30 more seconds. When you ask her questions of qualification about her own statements, she goes into a mini mental meltdown. In other words, her platitudes and greeting card slogans don't require any foundation or any justification at all. So the point is this then why should we care about anything she says? And then you ask her questions and she just babbles on.
Mm-hmm. And she just lashes out, man. She acts real.
She doesn't listen. I don't want to be mean, but she's very opinionated. She seems to be motivated, wanting the best for people, but she doesn't understand that just throwing out greeting card platitudes doesn't cut the mustard, right? If you're not going to make a statement about reality that isn't grounded in some worldview, then your statement about reality is meaningless.
Mm-hmm. Right. And basically,
she doesn't understand that.
And you know, she tried to come with the whole I'm inclusive, but as you pressed on her logic, you show that ultimately she can't be all inclusive as she claims to be, and she acts real extremely intolerant. And she didn't.
She actually said she was completely all inclusive. She said this.
Wait, question.
Wait 1 second. I'll let you speak, Africa, because you did want to speak. After this, I'm gonna let you speak. I got you. I got you for sure. But you know, one of the things she noticed, she didn't address any of the things that I said about the back alley abortions, about people having to reap what they sow, how it's unfortunate if that happens to people, but you know, people have to pay the penalty for their consequences. That's just that's just reality. She just wants to come here and to make herself appear like I'm this hippie humanist and I'm more moral and I'm more righteous and I'm more inclusive than you intolerant Christians. But she clearly showed herself to be intolerant. She was very rude. What she said to Alex was very disrespectful. This woman is older than all of us in the room. This woman's a grandmother, and yet she's sitting up here insulting a 16-year-old kid because she's that shallow about her argumentation that she feels the need to put herself down and lift herself up. So you need to repent, sugar. That's why I don't like doing hangouts with you. And I'm glad that these brothers here got to witness who you are. And you're just a humanist or moralist in name only. But yeah, go ahead, African. And I'm on mute for a while, so go ahead.
Oh no, I just found it funny because like she's about humanity, human life. She puts humans over God. I don't see anything wrong with that. In my views, I actually agree with her with certain things she was saying because that's all that matters is human life.
On what basis?
African, what is the highest thing that we should value?
Human life.
And where did you get that from?
By my experience in living life.
Yeah. So how does your experience in living determine that we should all put human life as the thing that is most highly valued?
Because we're humans, like.
I don't know what that means. Can you translate that into English?
Humans, that makes up, how can I put it? We're just humans. That's the only thing that should matter.
Well, do you believe in evolution?
No, it's not real. Darwin,
okay,
not real.
Okay, good. So then how did you determine that humans should be the most valued?
Because we're humans.
That doesn't answer that. I don't know what that means.
Because we're humans. Like, what do you mean? Like, we're human beings. We're God. We're God is in a body. Like, what are you talking about?
Whoa, wait a minute. So, are we created by God?
By the universe? Yes.
No, I didn't say the universe. I said God.
I call it the universe.
Okay. So in other words, molecules revealed to you that human beings should be the highest value.
Yes, atoms, protons, neutrons,
How did atoms, protons, and neutrons reveal to you that human beings should be the valued above all things?
Because any and everything's found in the universe is found in the human body. So if everything is like, if I'm made of everything, that makes me valuable just by the default. But the fact that the water I drink, the air I breathe, the food I eat, it's all made. I'm literally everything.
So what do you mean you're literally everything? You're the universe?
He's a pantheist, dude.
No, I know exactly what she is.
Pantheist.
A monist.
Don't put labels on me.
Are you do you believe that the universe is God?
I don't believe in God. I just call it the universe.
You called it
okay.
God.
So in other words, all that exists are just matter and energy?
Yes.
Okay, good. So your particular arrangement of matter and energy has thought. You have certain thoughts, and if I disagree with you, then my molecules are simply different than yours. Why is your arrangement of molecules better or more correct than my arrangement of molecules?
We just think differently, but we're still the same. Whatever that's made.
Right. So if I disagree with you, how do we resolve which one is true?
By doing the research.
Well, the universe revealed to me that you're wrong.
And it wrote to me that you're wrong as well.
Okay, good. So the universe contradicts itself, doesn't it?
If you say so.
Right, do you believe reality is an illusion?
Okay.
That there's ultimately no.
You know what? Let's not continue with
I can't hear.
This
say it again, Carlos.
No, Dawkins. I want you to.
No. Listen. I've talked with this woman before.
Yeah.
Not only is she incapable of understanding basic concepts, she is entirely unwilling to learn.
Yep. She looks like she comes from one of those conscious communities where they're all about
right. And her biggest problem is her attitude that she's unwilling to even learn. She says some of the most, I'll try to be nice here, uninformed, inaccurate statements. And then when you ask them about them, she just gives you even more silly things. And when you point out to them that they're either contradictory or silly, she doesn't blink an eye.
Right.
I mean, it's fruitless trying to talk with somebody who is entirely unwilling to recognize the serious fundamental problems in their thinking, just like sugar.
Sugar's wow, man. Yeah, that woman, like I said earlier, man, she's gonna just make emotional arguments, not rational ones. These are people who are just impulsive and whimsical, and they're just gonna be arbitrary. They're gonna just freestyle whatever comes to mind. They're not gonna, and they, they talk about doing research, right? But they're not really evaluating what they have to say. So according to everything is one, we're all one. But how does you disagreeing, her disagreeing? Obviously the one is disagreeing with each other. So
okay, listen to this. This is in the external side chat, right? George Mayer, who has the atheist symbol, says DD was losing against Sugar, so he boots her. I mean, seriously, dude, if you actually believe that, then I don't know what to say to you. Sugar was just dribbling out platitudes and greeting card cliches and insisting that we comport our thinking to her thinking. And when I asked her what the basis or foundation of those platitudes and cliches were, she says, I don't care. So in other words, what she's saying to us, George, is she can say whatever she wants, and it doesn't require support, reasoning, or rationale. I mean, what her whole reasoning process, if you will, was essentially irrational. Okay? And you want to say that I was losing to her when I was simply pointing out her own internal inconsistencies and contradictions? Seriously, George.
George is an idiot. He never comes into these hangouts, and I rarely just call people idiots. But yeah, that man is just an outright idiot. He always,
Well, I would say so, but you know what? I'm accused of being so mean,
Well, I guess ignoramus would be more formal. I don't know. I guess idiot is informal. So I think ignoramus would. No, I'm just kidding. But man, my goodness, man. It's just utter.
Yeah, I mean, some of these people. I mean, they just don't even have basic thinking skills, right? They'll make a statement, and I'll say, "Why should we believe that?"
Atheists, pro-abortion, non-believers lose again. That's the end of this. So I guess with that said, one of your brothers like to give the gospel before we go off air?
Yeah, let Alex.
Hold on, I'm just reading the side chat of what the bloviator said.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Eve McRae, I like to call him.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, who cares what that pathological liar says? Anyway, he's not even worthy of discussing.
No, he's not.
Well, I think we showed tonight decisively that the atheist mentality, as expressed by Wolf King, is one of just not only utter irrationality, but he was brought to the brink of absurdity by invoking the god Prometheus. Right?
Oh yeah, that was hilarious.
Here's an atheist. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how utterly irrational they are. But it's fun, and what we are doing is we're showing the truth of the Word of God. We're shining a spotlight on darkness, in the hopes that men who are fools will repent. And they can move from darkness to light.
Well, hold on. Let me ask you something. Hey, Peter, what is your position on the abortion issue?
Uh, honestly, um, people are supposed to die, so it's not up to me how they die. So yeah.
What does that mean?
Ab- I mean, abortion is a way of another way of extinguishing life. Like, I mean, you're going to die. Like, it's not up to me who dies and when they die and how they die. Like, I really don't care.
So it's up to other people, but not up to you. Like it's up to pregnant
No,
women, but
no,
not
no,
up
it's
to
not.
you.
No, 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 no. Like, people die.
Yes, we get
Period.
that. Okay.
Right. And people die different ways. People die through hurricanes. People die through, earthquakes, being shot, stabbed, abortions. Like, it's just different ways of dying. There are multiple ways you can die. So
Uh-huh.
how someone dies or how life is distinguished, like it doesn't matter to me. You're gonna die anyway, so it doesn't matter when you die, like to me, or how you die.
How does that pertain to the
Nah,
abortion issue, though? That's what I'm asking you.
this is because I don't care. Like, it's an abortion. Like, what? I don't care.
So you don't care that women go into clinics and have their babies killed, correct?
No, they're gonna die anyway, whether they kill them there or like later. Like, I don't care.
So when slaves were getting killed, during legal slave times in America, it didn't die. It didn't matter because people were gonna die anyway, right?
For me, no.
So you don't care about your own people, like any family or friends. You don't care about your own people getting killed by others because people die anyway, right? That's your outlook on life.
Pretty much, you got it.
That's pretty sad, man. I appreciate your consistency. I think
I
that's
mean,
twisted and sad,
I
but
mean that's
I
your.
appreciate you
I
being
mean,
honest.
you have opinion, so right on.
I don't think there's anything where else we need to go with this. I mean, you all heard it here, folks. He doesn't care about his own friends, family, or anything like that being killed because
Yeah.
everybody just dies. So
Yeah, let me say this, man. Abortion has killed more black people in a week than the KKK has done in the whole 150 years. So abortion is literally a genocide in the black community, and I think that is a huge problem. Eugenics is a problem. They did try to disguise it as equality, health rights, justice, freedom, liberty, whatever they do. But the higher ups know what it is, and I just pray to God that abortion may end one day, that the foolishness may stop one day, and that all those of you who need to repent may repent in Jesus' name. And so, Alex, could you get the gospel to close us out?
Can I ask a question to Antonio?
So go ahead.
oh yeah, what's up?
So basically, from what I'm hearing, your stance is, I guess, is a abortion maybe is a problem for you. Am I wrong or right?
It's wrong. It's evil. It is a problem. Yes.
Okay. So, um, how do you think those people's lives should go?
What do you mean?
Like that child that's being aborted. Like, how do you think they live? Like, you don't think they should be aborted. So then, how do you think like their lives should go? Like, how should they die then?
I
Like,
think they
since
have the
the
right not to be killed by everybody. I think they have the right not to be killed, like everyone has the like any innocent person has the right not to be killed, and whatever things
so
they
how do you
come
think they
across
should die?
in their life, it's how anybody come across things in their life. But what I'm saying is, we have a lot of different rights. We have the right, not to be put into jail or in prison without due process. We have the right to property and all sorts of things. We have a lot of inalienable rights that are afforded to us. Now, I think life should be one of those things that all human beings have the right to. We have the right not to be killed. Without we do not have. All right, let me say this again because I'm getting tongue tied here. We do not have the right to be killed without due process of law, and I think that should be a right afforded to every human being, including in the womb.
Due processes of who law? Whose law?
Without due, where do you live?
I live in the United States, Maryland.
Do you understand what due process of law means?
But the only reason I say that is because, like, when you look at some parts of like the world, you see that they don't have, like, a standard, or like a law or government like we do. You know what I'm saying? They have like whatever's, system that civilization lives under. So when for me, when I hear you say that, it's like you're talking about everybody, right? And so when you look at how the nations are set up, like these are like sovereign nations, so or territories. So why does a territory have to appeal to like your understanding of how life should go?
Here's the thing, man. If we're going to make an argument on rights and this and things like this, then we do it the best way we can with the understanding of our legal framework. Now, ultimately, my baseline argument is we should not be killed because we're all endowed in the image of God. No innocent person has the right to be killed because we're all endowed in the image of God. As far as our legal system works, um, we don't go around doing things to people of law. Like you can't just have your property taken away from you without due process of law. You can't just be put. You can't have your house searched without due process of law. You can't have your right of speech taken away from you without due process of law. I think it makes perfect sense that certain procedures will have to be followed before anybody can do anything to you, before any of your rights can be forfeited. Doesn't that make sense?
It makes sense. It makes sense under um your understanding, but outside of your understanding, like if I don't have that understanding, that wouldn't make sense to me. Because if you're saying that like everybody should have due process of law, it's like you're advocating for a one world government. I'm not saying you are. It's just saying like everybody should have due process. So that means everybody is going to be under like this law. So that sounds like everybody's being ruled under one understanding, right?
Well, well, here's how it works. If people are going to have certain inalienable rights, then they need to be afforded to everyone across the board equally. So of course there's going to be a consistent standard that we have to abide by legally. Like if I have the right not to be put into prison without due process of law, then so do you and everybody else. If I have the right not to be pulled over by the cops without cause, then so do you and everybody else. I mean, I don't really know how I can explain it other than that.
No, I understand what you're saying. I'm just like inserting the fact and the notion that some people may reject your understanding of how things should work, even though you feel as though it should work that way. And like
Well, if
kind
they
of like I kind of strayed away from the question, like my original thought, which was kind of like more so like since you don't believe these babies should be aborted, but you know they're going to die.
Mhm.
You're like, not then. No, don't die then. So when do you find it appropriate then for them to die? Because they're going to die.
Well, I don't find it appropriate for any human being to be taken, any human being's life to be taken by any sort of means whatsoever. Like I can't just arbitrarily go up to just any person on the street and just shoot them in the head. Now, if they die by natural means, like a flood happens and they die that way, then there's nothing I could do about that. But just because at the end of it all, everybody's going to die, doesn't mean that it justifies taking life arbitrarily. Just because you're going to die in a number of different ways, you could die by somebody shooting you. You could die by fire. You can die by falling off a bridge. I don't know how you're going to die. But just because you're going to die in some way, shape, or form, does that give me the right to just go up and kill you? No.
No, I'm definitely not saying that. I'm just saying since they like all right, you're basically saying no one should kill, and it's like it raises another question, but hopefully we'll get through this first. Like if you have the time, but I'm saying like since the abortion for you, right? And since the people like shooting people, or since us like being the primary source of like someone's death, right? That you don't like that. You don't like people killing people. I understand that. So I'm saying like then like what's your view on how they should die then?
I don't have a view on how people should die at all. What I do have is the fact that humans are going to eventually die, but those who do not, break laws, those who are those who follow. How can I put this? Those who, in the best way, follow God's laws, and in turn, God, tells us that we obey the laws of our lands as well. Those who, in general, follow the law, they should not have their lives taken away from them without due process. Of course, they're going to die. That doesn't mean I'm saying they should die in one way or another. I'm not saying, there should be a way for somebody to die. What I'm saying, there's should be other ways that people should not die. People should not die by having their life taken without due process. People should not die just by people arbitrarily decide whether they get to live or die. People should not die by that way. That doesn't mean I think that people should die by another way necessarily. I'm not talking about how people should die, but rather about how people should not die.
No, and I totally understand that. Like I totally get that. Like I understand that Antonio does not um like want people to die. Like I understand that. Like you don't want people to kill each other. Like I understand that. So I'm saying instead of people killing each other, so you're saying like people should die through storms and like natural events, like things like that. But it shouldn't happen by the hand of another human being. Like people
Well, I'm
should.
not gonna say. I don't think that's a should thing. There's nothing I can do about that. But if it's not by the hand of another human being, the purposeful intent to just take their life without any sort of good moral cause whatsoever, there's nothing I can do about a natural disaster or anything like that. It's not a should question. It's just that in that situation, it is what it is.
Can you explain that? Like in that situation, it is like okay, like let's say right, this baby, right? So no, this person was about to be born, right? And then the mother decided not to abort him because she heard Mr. Antonio's argument or expression of thought. So she changed her mind, and like now this person is getting older, right? So this this person like sleeps and like doesn't wake up and die in old age. So that's okay with you.
Would I say okay with me? No, I don't smile at death in any fashion at all. I don't desire that anybody should die at all. But the fact is, dying is a fact of life. I don't desire that anybody should suffer in life, but the fact is, suffering is a fact of life. There's nothing I can do about that. Do I wish it? No. Can I control it? No. But that is something that I cannot control. But what I can control is what I do. What I can control is not going up to you or any other random person and putting a bullet in them. That's what I can control. You can't, equate, the natural factors of like natural disasters or whatever else. We can't, or somebody had a heart attack because they didn't eat healthy or something like that. I can't control stuff like that. There's nothing I can do about that. But that doesn't mean that just because those things happen that I desire for people to purposely kill folks. It's not that I desire that people should die by those means, but the fact that the fact that people die by it means other than intentional, it's just a fact of life. It's not a should thing.
Right, and that's my thing. That's what I was getting at in the beginning. People killing each other is a fact of life. It's not saying that I want it or I don't want it. It's just that's what happens. Why fret over something that I have no control over? If you don't have control over someone, them eating a hamburger and having a heart attack, especially when someone has told them that you can have it, they basically committing suicide. Someone told you, yo, you keep eating that bad, that trashy food, you're gonna die. Your clot is gonna get caught, you're gonna die. And they do it anyway. They just kill themselves. And right, you can't control that. But and that doesn't bother you, and you're okay with that. But you can't control a woman having an abortion either. So why should that bother you? If you can't control natural disasters.
Wait a minute. You're confusing. You're confusing, dude. You're way confusing this.
No, hold on. No, I'm not confusing it. No, I don't think I am. Because it just you just said to me, like, I can't control what other people do. Like, I don't want that to happen to them. It just, that's what happens. So if you can't control what other people do, that means you can't control when a woman has an abortion, right? So that's just what happens. This woman has an abortion. Now, you may not like it, but that's just how it is, right? That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that you want it or not, but you can't control it. It's out of your hands.
You completely confused this. Let me put it to you this way. If there was somebody that you knew was going to kill someone you cared about, and you had the ability to stop that, would you do so?
It depends.
This is someone that you cared about, and you had the ability to stop that. Would you take action?
I mean, I said it depends.
It depends.
Yes.
So you care about this person, but it depends. So there'll be situations to where you would stop and situations to where you won't. And you absolutely had every bit of control of being able to stop it. But it just depends.
I mean, hypothetically speaking, it depends.
So you have full control to stop someone you care about from dying. You have full control to stop this, but it depends.
Yeah, because it depends like this, right?
If you truly care about them, then why wouldn't you stop it from happening if you can control it?
Because this is why I say it depends. And this is what comes in my mind.
All right, stop, man. Stop, man.
So you gonna let me respond?
Stop, man.
All right.
All right. Yeah, he wasn't getting it. He wasn't getting this at all. The fact that there are certain things that I cannot control. Let's say, all right. I don't know if he's losing connection or if he left on purpose or what's going on. But I'll put it to you. I'll put it this way for those who are listening. If I could stop a little girl from being raped, and I had the power to stop that, right? I would stop it. Absolutely, I would stop it. Just because I cannot, in essence, control all things from happening, doesn't mean that there aren't things to where I do can have control over. I don't have control over a woman going into a clinic and getting an abortion, but what I do have control over is the effort I put in to making something like that illegal. That's what I do have control over. I do have control over putting in efforts to making such an evil thing wrong or punishable in our laws. I do have control over that, and whatever efforts that I do put in, I'm gonna put in to make it see to it, hopefully, that this thing, which is legal, abortion, gets banned in our laws, and that people are criminally punished for it if they break those laws. He was just confusing so many. Oh man, I don't get why he thinks because I cannot, in essence, stop everything. That means I should not be against certain things. What I can control is what my position on the abortion issue is and what decisions I can make to fight against that. I can control what I do in my efforts to um, see a change in the culture. I can control that. He was missing the point. He was trying to make it seem like that just because I can't not in essence stop everything, or I cannot in essence control everything, that I shouldn't, argue against a woman getting an abortion. That's just stupid. That's just like saying because I can't control all rapes from happening, that I should in essence not stop rape from happening if I can't stop it, or I should not stop rape from becoming legal. That's just a dumb argument. He was confusing just the most basic concepts. I don't even know how he confused that. No rational thinking individual would have confused something so easy and basic. But that's a wrap, folks. I was going to have one of the other brothers give the gospel, but nobody else is in here, so I'm just going to finish off by giving the gospel myself. We are all depraved, y'all, and we are all in need of a Savior, and that's Jesus Christ. We are in need of His blood for the redemption of our sins, because without Him, we are eternally separated from God, and there is no hope. We don't know when we're going to die, and one of these days, we're going to have to face God in judgment. It's just like Matt Slick says all the time, eternity is a long time to be wrong. You don't know when you're going to die, and do you really want to take that chance that you could be wrong? Do you really want to? Is your eternal salvation worth it? It's not worth it. Jesus is knocking on the door, and He wants you to let Him in. But the fact is that if you choose to remain in your rebellion, if you choose to remain in your discontent, your disbelief, and your irrationality, then there's no hope for you. Jesus didn't come just so you could spit in His face and say, well, I don't care about what you have to do. I don't care about your sacrifice. And it's no wonder why people scoff at the idea of eternal hell. It's no wonder why. Here's the thing. You scoff at Jesus, and then no, I just put it like this. You scoff at Jesus, you deserve eternal hell. If that's what, especially if that's what God deems, if that's what God ordains you, you scoff at the sacrifice of Jesus, you deserve eternal hell. And I make no apologies for saying that. But it's no wonder people scoff at eternal hell, because they scoff at Jesus first. When you are going to scoff at the amazing sacrifice, and that's just a way understatement. You scoff at the beyond words amazing sacrifice of Jesus. Of course, you're going to scoff at other things that He does. You're not going to even accept His free gift, so you may not have to bear the damnation of your sins. You're not going to even accept that. So, of course, you're not going to believe anything else He says. Of course, you're not going to believe what He says about eternal hell. Of course, you're going to scoff at that. But it doesn't matter. Your scoffing and your non-belief, that doesn't dictate reality. Because it's just the result of our depraved nature to begin with. We're all in the fallen creation and we all need to be redeemed. He loves each and every one of us and cares about us. But at the end of the day, if you aren't saved by the end of your life, there's no hope. You're going to be eternally separated from God forever. And just as I said at the beginning of this thing, I make no compromise and no apologies for the things that I say. I make no compromise and apologies for being pro-life. I don't make any compromise or any apologies for being a Christian and for telling the truth that we are the depraved state, and without Jesus, there is no hope. But Jesus loves us so much. He didn't have to do what he did, but he loves us so much that he gave up everything. He gave it all just so we won't have to suffer the punishment he did. That is the framework of why a lot of people would think abortion is okay, because at the end of the day, they are denying the God of the Bible when they are arguing this abortion issue. Even those who claim to be Christian, like Wayne Fillmore, he is denying the God of the Bible when he's going around trying to justify abortion in the case of rape. I don't care if you claim to be a Christian or not, you are denying his very essence. When you try to justify abortion, you are denying his divine command. You are defying his divine way. And he's not going to be easy on people who continue down this path of destruction to, justify the killing of the most precious ones among us. God's not going to forever be patient with us about this. If he hasn't judged us already, his judgment is coming soon. Think about it and be on the right side. Repent and get saved and turn to Jesus before it's too late, my friends. That's the end of this. Thanks for watching. Take care. God bless. Peace.